is wrong with you guys? Take yourself back. Do you know how many fucking guns we got just on this block alone? We outgunned the police departments sitting here watching our people die off. It's murder. Even our gangbangers, because we have to keep in touch with our killers. They keep in touch with their killers. Their killers get badges. Their killers get ranks in their militaries and armies. Our killers get prison. So it's time to build our military and make sure our killers know how to actually aim their guns and know who the real target is, because it's easy to take me out. Like I always tell you guys, the only vote that we should be doing, especially Black and brown communities, is who gets the guillotine next. You're never going to be afloat. Why would they put you afloat? If you are afloat, then you can't work for me. If you are afloat, you can't fill my prisons. If you are educated, how can I get you to fight my wars? What the fuck? So when I say death to America, I really mean death to America.
Welcome to a special last day of the year episode weekend edition. It's a lot of it today. The Nick and CJ show weekends. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back. Welcome to RBN Saturday Live with Nick and CJ. Always a good time to wind down, finish the week. We got a lot of headlines to talk about. You guys saw Rome's amazing documentary that's going to come out next year. Super hyped about that. Super hyped about that. At RBN, I really love the message of Black determination, self-determination, that is, right? And that has not existed in like a major way in the Black community for I don't know how long. Like you have the Black community listening to white capitalists for their needs. And what I'm talking about the Democratic and Republican Party, CJ. You got Black people listening to Jim Clyburn, Eric Adams, Barack Obama, and getting their directions from them. How about we have an unapologetically pro-Black party? How about we insert self-determination where young Black people and Black workers, we decide what is best for us? And already here, there's some people starting to melt down. If you're white, you're like, what about me? What about me, right? I always do that. What about me? You are welcome to join if you're following along with us. For quite some time, Black people have just been okay with white people just telling them how they should organize, telling them what's valuable to them. And I have some stories to show that, and you guys see the title of the video, Black people need to lead a two-party duopoly and form their own third parties. Rome is forming his own third party. He formed his own militia. These are the kind of things we need to be doing instead of voting for Jim Crow Joe. What say you, CJ?
Yeah, it's a long overdue conversation. Not that we haven't had this conversation before. This probably be the third or fourth stream we did something similar to where we're basically saying it's time for Black people to exit the Democratic Party. And the reason the reason we talk about it in a specific way is, one, we're Black. We can only speak for Black people. I can't say white people are saying to do this, so I can't say that. What I can say is this is what Black people
and I also can emphasize
free themselves. Go ahead.
I saw some comments before stream. It was like, why only Black people? And I'm like, yeah, I think everyone should lead a two-party duopoly, but I can only speak for my experiences. There's so many like the white people who are super invested in identity politics and white culture wars. They continue to vote for people who screw them over. And I don't know why. Can you guys tell me why? White audience? Why do your dad and your mom continue to vote for Republicans? Why do they still support these people? You see, the main messaging that's coming from white America is trans people in sports, drag queen shows. So it's like I am telling Black people we need to lead the two-party duopoly as a form of self-defense.
Right.
And then we launch an offense. There are a lot of poor working class white people, and I don't know the answer. I'm asking you guys this. They see the oligarchy screw them over. but they make the calculation that they are still beneficial in this system. What I am trying to do is I'm trying to snap the small percentage of black people who still feel this way. Whether
because it is a small percentage. Let's get that clear, because more than 50% of black people don't vote.
Yeah,
so that's the majority. That's the majority. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are the group with the least amount of political capital. Do you guys understand? Like, politicians would even chase the Latino vote. You look at the wave of you had anti-Asian hate crimes, and Democrats immediately start passing legislation for them. You had Democrats that openly come out and say Chuck Schumer said this. Their strategy is to win over the white suburban working class. And once you realize that, you realize that every single political move that the Democrat Party is making is to appeal conservative voters from the Republican Party. And by doing so, they are selling out black and brown communities. Why? Because they got to come out and say, oh, we support the apartheid state of Israel. Oh, we support endless funds for the police. They got to do this because they're trying to win over the white suburban vote. No one is trying to win over black people vote, because we're only 12% of the population, and the fact that we made the giant mistake where 80% of the registered black voters vote Democrat. So you have Republicans that are like, all right, that group is too far gone. We're not going to win them over. Fuck a black agenda. Then you have Democrats on the other side that say, oh, we already got the black votes. Fuck a black agenda. Why would we implement a black agenda if they already given us political power?
Right.
Now it's actually worse than that, because not only do we give them political power without them doing anything, they wage an offensive against our community. And then people like Jean Priere, actually no, I think it was Jen Psaki, who was like, yeah, well, we said we was going to fund the police more, but y'all voted for us anyway, so that's what we're going to do. Right. So I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna dive right into this headline, and we can do some announcements here soon, because this is what sparked this, where. And this is the reason why we titled the video, Black People Should Lead the Two-Party Duopoly, right? Black support for the GOP ticked up in this year's midterms. And guys, this is not a one-time thing. Do you guys know that Jim Crow Joe Biden, got least amount of black support out of any president in the modern era? I'm going to use that, the last 30 years or so. Funny enough, look, guys, stop, look at the numbers. Every single president, except Bill Clinton, ironically enough, the guy who was propagandized as the first black president. Every single Democrat. Yeah.
Ain't that something that we was propagandized to believe that nigga was one of the most racist out of all of them, the super predator guy, the 1994 crime bill guy, and we were so propagandized. We was calling him the first black president. It's absurd. And black capitalists and along with black comedians went along with that tagline and just wrote jokes along it. So it's absurd. That's why you have him on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone. That's all we need. We just need a president to come in and play the saxophone, and now black people are all happy now.
That's why I don't trust any of these black capitalists. They was the one who was responsible for that. Bill Clinton, Chris Hedges makes the argument that he's really the worst. I had a debate on my calling, like a friendly debate, where we was debating who's the worst, and I was saying that Joe Biden is the worst because he's continuing every single policy but upgraded, and he's starting World War III. And I got some more receipts for you guys: a record arms industry, record police. So I was just using that as a metric. Then Chris Hedges said that Bill Clinton was the real worst of all time because him deregulating Wall Street, obviously the crime bill, getting rid of Glass-Steagall. When you look at the atrocities in Iraq, he started the U.S. initiative in the late 90s. They listed all the countries that the United States would later invade. So that was this whole war on terror, the next level. I won't say start because obviously it's not the start, but the next level of U.S. advancement into other countries and imperialism started under Bill Clinton. So Chris Hedges got a strong argument. I was trying to hold my own, but there were a lot of good arguments, all these people being worse. But Bill Clinton is the worst among us, and he considered the first black president. Now I'm going to get back to this article here because this is not necessarily good news either. because you guys see the headline, and this is why we titled the video the way we did. So for the black people that is leaving the Democratic Party for the GOP, what the fuck are you looking for? What are you looking for?
Oh God, yeah, I don't know.
No, so we're not talking about black conservatives, because black conservatives they voted Republican last year. We're talking about specifically the black voters who voted for the Democrats and then they switched to Republican. What are you doing, my dude? What are you doing, brother? What are you looking for? Now let me read this. I will get you in there, CJ. Look, black voters have been a steady foundation for Democratic candidates for decades. Why do you guys think the state of the black community is so asshole right now? Why it's so horrible right now? Because the members of the ruling class knew they can count on black people's vote every single fucking time. So if the ruling class knows that you're going to vote for them, they have no reason to offer you anything. And Ice Cube, during last election, mentioned
remember.
And the backlash, it's the same thing. Like, if someone was to call me a right-wing grifter and shit, that shit's not going to hurt my feelings because I know that's not true, right? The same thing with you, CJ. Like, if I was to call you an ugly, pasty white dude, you'd be like, Nick, what are you talking about, bro? You wouldn't even be offended because it's not even true, right? So that's the same with Ice Cube. Ice Cube said something that was true, that was scathing, and so liberals came after him. The media came after him. And then all of a sudden, they start digging up old tweets. They're like, oh my God, look at Ice Cube, he's anti-Semite. Bro, they went after him because he told the truth. Why should we vote for you guys without a black agenda? And he was right. The state of the black community right now is horrible. We're going to get to that. Trust me. We're going to get to that very soon. Republican candidates were backed by 14% of the black voters compared with 8% in the last midterm election. Now, I want you guys to realize something. When you're dealing with 6%, that's millions of people. That's a lot of people in politics, right? But it's still not great because we want this to go to third parties. Now, this is the funny part. Remember how Democrats in Georgia was like, oh my God, Stacey Abrams not a thing because black men are racist or misogynistic. I'm sorry, misogynistic. But look at this. Brian Kemp in Georgia doubled his support among black voters. 12% in 2022 compared with 5% 4 years ago. And then they went to say, it's too early to tell whether the 2022 survey data reflects the beginning of a longer-term drift of black voters toward the GOP or whether modest Republican gains from an overwhelmingly Democratic group will hold during the presidential year. Former President Donald Trump, who announced his third run for presidency, received just 8% of black voters in 2022. Oh, yeah, with that said, I need to finish my thought because what I was about to say earlier was Bill Clinton is the only president in the modern era that got less than 90% of the black vote. He got like 85%. I think it was like 85, and the second one was 86. And then Joe Biden was like low 80s. I'm assuming based on what I said on that one, it was like 7% Trump, 80%, 80 or so percent Joe Biden, and the rest is like third party or whatever, right? Fill in the blank, maybe not fill anything in. But Joe Biden got the least out of any modern Democratic president. And I also kind of ask you this too, CJ. We can analyze why that is. I think it's clear to a lot of black people, they finally starting to see that the Democratic Party have nothing to offer. I want to show you this as well. And feel free to interrupt anytime. I'll get to some super chats later.
I think that because when you say, what are you doing? Why are people, because you think people are picking voting based on policy, and that's simply not what people are doing.
Yeah,
they're clearly not. I mean, if they wouldn't be voting Democrats, think about it. They wouldn't be voting Democrat if it was really on policy because nothing is being delivered. So people are literally, Nick, and you're seeing the signs in different polling. You speak about this poll all the time about the second or third party. Third party people are the enthusiasm or the want for a third party is at its peak. So people are disillusioned. And in this case, if we're talking about black people, they're disillusioned with the Democrats. Just like you and I see that nothing is happening with this crap of a party, other black people can see that maybe not be so invested in politics. They just say, what else am I going to do? It couldn't be any worse than what I'm doing now. Think about it, Nick. It's like, I vote Republican. How can it be any worse than what my life is now?
That's exactly what it is, CJ. There's a lot of people that just take that gamble. A lot of people that take that gamble. And that's why we do not exclude the black people who don't vote. You see people do this all the time, especially a lot of white commentators who, like, I got this pushback so much ever since I hit this media platform, right? Where people say, well, Nick, you hate the Democrat Party. You don't vote Democrat. You're in the minority. There were so many white liberals who used to tell this to me. He's like, what? You're the oddball. You don't vote Democrat. You know why? Because these people completely erased black people who don't vote.
Right.
If you take the black people who don't vote, you got 50%. And then among the ones who do, 80% vote Democrat. So that number is really like 35, 40%. The reality of the situation. Then the rest of the black people are the black people like my sister, who she's not into politics at all. And she says the reason she's not in politics is because she knows that all politicians are full of shit. So there are about 50% black people, at least. And then amongst who do vote, they vote because they doing their civic duty. They're not because they're in love with the politician, right? Like, I'm sure.
No, there are some black people that literally you hear them say it. My ancestors didn't die for me not to vote. And that's literally the reason they vote. It's like, my ancestors, this happened with them trying to get voting. So that's the reason I vote. And since I'm here, I have two choices. So I pick the blue team. This is democracy to people. This is democracy. You have to vote for a party, Nick, that literally is funding the city's police departments that are literally killing us. That's who we're picking. We picked the president who wrote the crime bill. That's the choices black people have. Think about that.
And I'm gonna show you guys the consequences of that. And this is the reality. And this is why people like my sister don't vote. This is why many black people know it's a waste of time. And this was by design. Chuck Schumer is responsible for this. Black Americans, despite being only 13% of the population, represents 40% of the homeless population in the United States. We're also 60% of the civil asset forfeiture cases. You guys see this? This is also why at RBN, we strongly make the argument that you cannot separate race and class. Despite us being 13% of the population, 40% of the homeless population. And you guys see and then a large percentage of this purple that's mixed. It's at 2 or more races. So out of that purple bar, how many of us have black? So it's more than 40%, right? So, and then you look at the Democrats in California, in New York, Eric Adams, who's raiding homeless camps as we speak, Anna Kasparian, the Karen on YouTube, spoke out against homeless people while apologizing for harsh criminal justice laws. You guys see how RBN, we view that as anti-black. Other people do not. It makes no sense. The Democratic Party, who is anti-homeless, the Democratic Party in California, who invests billions of dollars into anti-homeless architecture, who you guys think that's aimed at? These are anti-black policies. And we got to start calling them that. If you vote for the Democratic Party, you're supporting the prison industrial complex, you're supporting white supremacy, and you are supporting the war against the homeless and people in poverty. Now, I was talking about this with Jimmy Dore when we had Jimmy Dore on the show. RBN, we don't play identity politics like the way liberals do, where they pretend, oh my God, we just got to have someone in a higher seat of power, right? We just repeat bullshit racial slogans and tell people to vote for the Democratic Party. Those people are frauds. The reality of what identity politics is supposed to be, which is a connector. It's supposed to connect people, not divide people. It's me as a black man saying, oh my God, black people are with 13% population, but we 40% of the homeless population. But you see this white bar right here too. You see all them white homeless people? So even though homelessness is an issue that impacts the black community, if we come together and solve this problem, that will disproportionately help the black community while also hurting poor white people. Now let's get back to what I mentioned earlier. Why are there white, poor working class people who refuse to do that? They refuse. They refuse to drop the culture war. They refuse to drop the racism. They refuse to drop their negative opinion about the black community, even to help their people, their own community out. You see how many white people are homeless? You guys see how using identity politics in this way can be united? Yes, our people are homeless. Your people are homeless. Let's come together and fight the man. They do not want to do that, CJ. You want to know what the Democratic Party say when they say, "Oh my God, look at the success and how much the black community is thriving right now under our rule." You know what example they use, CJ? They say, Joe Biden appointed Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. So black Americans are thriving. No, I'm dead serious. I'm gonna show you guys 2 articles. Let me pull it up here. There are literally 2 articles, and I'll pass to you because I know I want to share some of your receipts on the story too. But I'm gonna show you guys this. And Black America, well, the ones whose minds are colonized, we're trying our best to reach these people. That's why I got a platform. I'm trying to reach these brothers and sisters who are victims of propaganda, right? But the 50% of black people who don't vote, RBN, when you look at us, we see this, and they don't understand that this is a negative for them. So we have a record amount of black mayors, 4 black mayors in some of the largest cities. But income inequality, racial income inequality is getting worse. You guys see where I'm going here? Black homelessness is getting worse. More black people got medical debt than ever. But black people are in higher office. So what is happening? What is happening? We got black faces in high places, but things are getting worse. But black people, some black people not asking any questions about this. So let me show you this. It said this article. Actually, maybe I should. I'm gonna show you this one first because I wanted to. Maybe let's see. Did I not save it? I can find it real quick though. All right, let me do this one first. Let me do this one first. Okay, because I want to show you. There's an article from The Hill that was like, "What did Biden do for Black America?" I gotta find it. I can find it really quick. Where they pretty much just list all identity politics bullshit. Now let me show you this article here. Black America.
I think I read that before. I think I read that article before.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. I gotta go slightly out of order, but it's okay. Black Americans shaping a new America. And now look at how they frame.
Who is the guy in the middle, by the way? Do you know who that is in the middle?
Is that the DNC chair, Jamie Harrison? It looks like him. I don't know. Let's see what it says.
That's Jamie Harrison?
I don't know. I don't fucking know who that guy is. It looked like Jamie Harrison, right? If I remember right. But that's Hakeem Jeffrey, Ketanji Brown Jackson. So this is the messaging that's come from the liberal establishment. They do not care about the material conditions of the black community. They don't care that police is being funded at historic rates and they're killing more Americans than ever. They're in the state last year, so they killed at least 3 people. They don't care about none of that stuff. They don't care about the record amount of Haitians that are being deported. They don't care about none of this. They say Black Americans shaping a new America. CJ, do you feel like you're shaping a new America?
No.
Do you feel like our hood is shaping a new America? Let's see what they're talking about.
They're talking about coons in high places. Go ahead. That's
Absolutely.
what they're talking about. I haven't even read this article, and I can tell you that's what they got to be talking about. I'm looking at the 3 coons, the 3 people on the top.
Yeah,
people couldn't tell you anything about no black community. If I mean, come on, man.
And
this is so unserious. This is like white people saying this is black people doing this. That's what this is. Go ahead.
And this is the identity politics that people hate. This is the identity politics that white people are like, oh, we hate identity politics. We do not play this identity politics. My identity politics is based on the material. Based on the material and connecting people. According to liberals in white America, they're like, oh my God, you put a black person in a high position, have them be the servants of white supremacy. And that is their new strategy. Their new strategy is to have black mayors, black vice presidents, black press secretaries, and have them be the worst police state imperialist motherfuckers you ever find. This guy, Hakeem Jeffries, the biggest Zionist you ever find in Washington, D.C. Tell me, I'm asking you guys this question. What the fuck?
Gleefully.
Why the
Gleefully Zionist.
Why the fuck should any black mother? Why should any black person be a Zionist? In Africa, there's strong support for Palestine. South Africa, Nelson Mandela is famous for that. But this nigga, this brother in the United States, He loves them some Israel. He loves them some apartheid. But anyway, let me read the article. I'm kind of ranting here. Look at the people they list at their end of the year story that's supposed to make us feel better, CJ. This is supposed to be a feel-good story for us.
What?
And guys, this is one of the end of the year feel-good stories. And now I'm gonna read the story at a glance. A number of Black Americans made history in 2022, breaking through glass ceilings. And don't you love when glass ceilings pay your bills, CJ? Oh no, man, I'm feeling hungry. I'm gonna eat some glass ceilings. I know them Black people getting their ass beat by the cops in the streets. They probably getting their ass beat like, man, I'm so happy that Kajanji Brown Jackson. You guys see why I cannot stand liberal ideology? This is liberal ideology right here. And they use this to weaponize intellectualism. Well, they playing their role because then dumb right-wingers and white people who love the culture war, they would then say, oh my God, look at the Democrat Party and the liberals. They're so woke because they got Black people that implementing bad policy now. You guys see how they play the game? Liberals bastardize identity politics and representation. And then the right instills anti-intellectualism by calling them out and pretending that the radicals are doing it.
That's what we're seeing. What the anti-woke culture right now. That's literally what we're seeing happen. And Black community is just sitting back like eating popcorn. It's funny though the reaction from white people online. It's like they're mad that we're saying we don't give a fuck what y'all think woke is. Like that doesn't change the meaning for us. Like we don't give a fuck what you think about it. They're getting upset. They're upset at that. Like motherfucker.
Have you ever seen the comments like, yeah, you guys make a good point, but you should let it go? No, motherfucker. No. If you guys get in with us, we have the hard conversation. We do not let stupid shit go.
So funny. It's so funny. JB's in the house.
Why would you let white people take your word? Why won't you guys let white people take a positive term and turn it to a slur?
Right.
Why won't you guys sit back and let that happen? That is what white people tell this channel all the time. We're not going to do it. Not going to do it.
No way.
But anyway,
what's up, JB? JB's here.
Oh,
y'all were having too much fun.
You know how Saturday is. On Saturday, we literally just come on here and talk shit. Like Saturday is not serious for me. You guys always learn on the channel, but Saturday is the time when at the end of the week we come have fun. JB, dude, I was calling you, bro. I was calling you because your sound on the last stream was kind of something. I think there was a glitch on there. That was blowing your phone up.
Oh,
yeah, true.
You go rewatch it. You can see it in spots. Yeah.
So
I don't know what's going on because here's the crazy part. I don't hear any complaints on RBN, but for some reason it's on my channel.
Yeah,
weird.
That's weird. I don't know what to tell you on that. That's a weird glitch.
It ain't weird if we're if stuff is happening, being done. So I'm just saying that it ain't that weird to me. Like this stuff is not weird to me. I'm just like, what you think is gonna happen? What you think is gonna happen after these conversations, nigga? What the stuff we talking about? We're talking about stuff like Gaddafi. We're talking about like Karl Marx. We're talking about like examining capital. Like, get the fuck out of here, man.
I did an hour segment yesterday talking about the evils of U.S. sanctions. There's a reason why they shit out of our channels, guys. But hey, it's whatever. I'm just glad that we got 250 people watching now. Like when I first got into this space, I didn't expect to have a fucking platform. I was like, bro, if I can radicalize a handful of people, get a handful of people voting third party, I'd be happy. We're more than doing that. So we want to hit as many people as possible. Big shout out to I see you, Indie Left News. Our friend network. Big shout out to them. Hope you guys having a great happy New Year's as well. Before I get back to the story, because I know we got a lot to cover. So I'm going to try to go through this last story a little bit faster. JB, I don't know if you've been watching, but the first conversation we were talking about how Black people should lead the two-party duopoly. I'm going to show you what we quickly cover real quick. Just I want to get your thoughts on it. This is the article, which is not good news, just because the consequences. Black support for the GOP ticked up in this year's midterms. We need articles where we say, oh my God, look at all these Black people supporting third parties. What the fuck?
Yes.
So anyway, David, I don't know how much people watch. I want to get your thoughts on, do you agree with us that Black people should lead the two-party duopoly? What's your thoughts on that, JB?
Well, I mean, of course, black people should leave the two-party duopoly. I mean, we've been hoodwinked and bamboozled by them for God knows for 50 plus years. And so it's like, what good can come out of us actually being with the two-party system? And so really for black people to go from one side of the party to the other side of the party, that's basically like saying, I cannot stand this bed. It's so uncomfortable. So you switch to the other side of bed and try to lay there and think you're going to become more comfortable. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Going to the other side of the same bed, it just doesn't work. So you need to just get out of that bed and get in something else. And I think that's the problem, is a lot of black people are now, and this is kind of indicative of the people like the Kevin Samuels and the Andrew Tates and all them. They go the misogynistic, more individualistic route, which then also makes you more sympathetic to the GLP and the right. And so, of course, then that is what's going to push you into that direction. And then on top of that, you got to remember, people don't realize this, but a lot of black people largely are very conservative.
Oh man, when I was in South Carolina, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. But go ahead, JB.
Yeah, it's in Houston, where I'm from, and or not where I'm from, but my family's from. I'm from California, but family is from Houston, but originally from Louisiana, and it's very extremely conservative, and I think that's one of the ways religion has been used to indoctrinate black people and keep us in a particular position. But maybe you could speak to this, JB, because you're in Florida, which happens to be one of the states where the uptick in the black support has happened. Do you personally know people or have relatives, male relatives, that have been speaking in this way, like, I'm going to the GOP, the Democrats aren't doing anything for me? Have you heard this personally on the ground in Florida?
I actually met a gentleman who is one of my fellow dialysis patients, and he called Donald Trump his president. And he's an older gentleman, old enough to be my father at least. And it just goes to show where he also incorporates his religious beliefs along with his political beliefs quite intimately. And so a lot of them will say, yeah, but the Democrats, and they'll focus on the Democrats' covert racism, and without basically denouncing the racism of the GOP. And it's like, wait a minute, both are, it's just one racism you can see, the other one, the racism is a little bit more opaque. So because of that, they think, well, they're more in line with my values, and we black people need to stop being victims and all this other stuff. And so not and denying that the system actually bears a responsibility on our state as a people. And so
that's such a boomer thing. That's such a black boomer age. So when you say older, are you talking like 60?
No, but here's the thing.
Go ahead.
The boomers didn't believe that in the past. When they were marching, they didn't believe that. You know what happened? The capitalism happened. Indoctrination happened. World News Tonight with Peter Jennings happened. MSNBC, Fox News happened. All these things happen. You have a bunch of black people who increased their wealth because they were the exceptions rather than the rule. They happened. They saw Oprah Winfrey's and Tyler Perry's and like, oh, well, I guess we can do it. They were lied to and whitewashed to their own leaders and thinking, oh, well, Dr. King, all he was just very religious and nonviolent, so we can just be that way too. Yeah. When Dr. King, man, had a few guns himself, and Dr. King was like, look, I'm just doing this just to show people how bad the system really is. But guess what? We gotta make things happen too.
Also, you guys
Go
got
ahead.
to remember, like Chris Hedges said, like once again, Chris Hedges has been saying this for quite some time. All the black radicals was killed.
They were.
They was killed, or they was marginalized to the point where they're insignificant. They were denied jobs, like,
Mhm.
and then the brothers and sisters who became sellouts,
Mhm.
they was rewarded. They was given positions of power,
Yeah.
and then they served
Like
capitalism. I want to get back to
like
the
John,
story.
John, what's his name? John, the one who died. John.
John Lewis.
Yeah,
John
Lewis.
Lewis. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
John-
one of them. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He gave a
Back to the
speech
thing.
at the Civil Rights March, and he talked about it for the rest of his goddamn life. I'll tell you guys, any other brother could have gave that speech without selling out. He sold out real quick, became a senator. He voted to, he literally responsible for the slave trade in Libya. He's the one that rallied support, so Barack Obama didn't need congressional authority to do that. John Lewis is no hero. He was the guy who was like, yeah, when I get my ass beat by the cops, I look at him and smile because that's how he went in the program.
White America want us to celebrate him as a hero. You see how they just tell us who's a hero to us.
Let me show you this.
He's a hero to you. Go ahead.
You want to know why? You want to know why they consider John Lewis a hero? This tweet right here, baby. This is why white liberals love them some John Lewis, and I always gotta go back to this. And this is one of them tweets. Like it was at this point where I was like, I'm fucking done with these niggas, bro. You see this 2016. I was already voting green at this point. I was done with Barack Obama. Then I start seeing shit like this. I'm like, fuck all you people in the Black Congressional Caucus. Look at the date. He said, I was beaten bloody by police officers, but I never hated them. I said, thank you for your
what?
service. Now you know why white liberals love this guy? Now you guys see why he became the senator? Talking about loving the cops. No, it's very healthy to hate your oppressors, guys. Very healthy. JB, CJ, any thoughts on that? And I'm gonna continue the story.
That's
you guys
okay. That is that misinterpretation of love your enemies because they do things against you. Here's the thing. It's funny how people will talk about loving your enemies and how Jesus gave over to his enemies in order for them to sacrifice. The thing is that that's somebody completely different, number one. And you got to remember who was the one that was beating all the people out of the temple, right? So he's using his religiosity to say, oh, we need to stick with this system when they're not working to get rid of the system. And so somebody like John Lewis was really upholding the system. He stepped away from that actual revolutionary discipline because he wanted to keep his head down so that he won't get messed with. That's basically what it was. And it's funny because I just read that because I just finished doing a reading that's going to be uploaded. I hope the sound's not too bad on that one, but it might be. So I might have to, I don't want to have to redo it, but I might have to. But anyways, but I did it in Michael Parenti with Dirty Truths. Is that a lot of times there's a lot, even people in academia, what they'll do is they will quietly dissent. They'll say, oh man, I can't believe the government's doing this in capitalism, blah, blah, blah. But then they don't do anything outward in order to challenge power because they don't want to end up like the radicals. Even though their words live on, they don't want to end up like them.
What's that, JB? America might be going to hell. It's some of MLK's best work. I saw 2 super chats come in, so I'm gonna quickly read these super chats. Actually 3 super chats. Now I'm gonna continue the story. Thank you for the $5. GV Black. Urgent breaking news. Support RBN via monthly donos. Yeah, very urgent breaking news. Appreciate that. Engagement on the mainstream Billionaires app, and obviously tell all your friends. And make sure you guys share our stream, our network. Any support on Patreon helps because you guys see they suppress the shit out of our channel. And I was like, we're not gonna change our message to help us be better in the algorithm. So our message is what it is. If the algorithm wants to suppress the shit out of us, it is what it is. But we just need your guys' help to help us beat that. It's only a matter of time for they just take this shit down altogether. Anyway, thank you for the $5 for Black Food. The Black political class are willing servants of light supremacy. but don't forget to vote, y'all. That's a great comment. Light supremacy, I like that. Thank you for the $5. Felonious punk. Nothing good comes easy. Keep a pushing. Strength. Absolutely. So I'm gonna show you. I had time to. I wanted to show you guys this one first, but for some reason I didn't save it. I didn't save this one first. But let me show you this. CJ, this is what I wanted to show you. This is the articles that liberals are. Oh, God damn it, Yahoo. These are liberals that. These are the articles that liberals are posting because they definitely see people like RBN. They definitely see the Ice Cubes and the other black radicals who are done with the Democrat Party. They see their support is slipping, so they keep writing these cringe ass op-eds. It said, "What did the Biden-Harris administration do for black people in 2022?" So let's see. Well, I'm gonna just read the first two paragraphs. Since vowing to have the backs of black Americans, President Biden has committed to prioritizing racial equity and delivered on several campaign promises. When Joe Biden delivered his second speech after defeating Donald Trump in 2020, the president-elect then intentionally thanked black voters for his historic win, which led to electing the nation's oldest president. So he was like, "Oh, thank black people for voting for you. Now we about to fuck you over." Thank you for being chumps and voting for the guy who literally responsible for the crime bill and the explosion of black medical debt. I have done streams over. I literally wrote an entire op-ed, and this is what made the white Bernie bros hate me, because I was like, if you guys think you're fighting for us, if you think you're doing anything other than enabling white supremacy, you're out of your fucking minds. And I made so many enemies in the Bernie movement. I'm like, you guys are not dragging me down your dumbass bullshit, for lack of a better term. So let's look at the.
Yeah, we can dispel that. You're not doing anything to help the black community. I don't know if any white person thinks that, but you are absolutely not.
Oh, that's why
if you want to ask us, what can we do for the black community? Literally, the thing you could do is not vote for the Democratic Party. That's literally the best thing you could do for us.
You have Ben Dixon. The Bernie people love Ben Dixon because he's that black guy that's like, "Don't worry, Bernie guys, you guys are fighting for us." His little nerdy fucking voice. You got, yeah. If you vote for Bernie, if you vote for Joe Biden, that's the vote for the black people. And Ben Dixon, he used to follow me, right? They also used to love me, but I was like, "No, Ben, you're fucking wrong. You out your goddamn mind. You're black. You out your goddamn mind." Anyway, let's continue. I'm just talking. Look at what they list. CJ, JB, help me.
Well, here's my thing. I can understand their reasoning, saying, "Well, if you know, these policies would definitely help black people as well," which I do agree. But here's the problem. They don't fight for them. See, my issue is you can push for these policies all you want, but it don't mean a thing unless you actually got that swing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because a lot of times what people will say is they'll be like, "Oh, well, we got to stick with them." And the thing is, like, but they're not sticking with us. I can understand if they stuck with us. It's just like, all right, let's hypothetically say I get into a fight, right? Me and Nick, you and me, we get jumped by a couple of dudes, right? And you're fighting, you're giving your all, you're getting some good hits in. But then I'm acting like I'm fighting, but I'm not really fighting. I'm just posing. I'm just faking out, like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not actually going at it, right? And then I go, "But man, I was fighting for you, man. But I wouldn't be surprised if you cuss me out." Because it's like, bro, I'm getting my behind handed to me, and you said you were gonna fight. You were flinching at him, but you actually didn't even throw a punch. So no, you weren't fighting with me, and now we can't be boys no more. Can I blame you? This is the exact same thing with this party. They'll flinch, right? You're like, "What's up?" They'll be like, "Hey, yo, get off me. But then when it comes time to actually throw a punch, they're nowhere to be found. They're not even willing to get chin checked by the other party. because they're working with them. And this is why a lot of us are sick and tired of people going, oh man, why aren't you standing with them? They're fighting for you. No, they're not. They're posers. They're posing. They're just like this. Oh man, we got you. Bro, these are the same dudes that's sitting there with their Glocks, and they're like, yeah, you down with us? Yeah, we down with you. Yeah, better not mess with us. Yeah, next thing you know, when the actual fight happens, they ain't got no clips. They're just acting all tough because they just feel like they got it. And so that's the problem. They acting tough, but they don't really want to do nothing to help you. Because so that's just what it's like to me, man.
Yeah, so we haven't got to the funny part yet. I know we almost 50 minutes in. We got a lot covered. So I'm gonna show you guys the last two parts here because I want to get your reaction. Feel free to interrupt me anytime because I was reading this when I was scouting my story today. I was like, you guys have to be fucking kidding me. So is the Griots roundup of what President Biden has done for Black Americans. You guys ready? Appointing the first Black female Supreme Court justice. JB, are you telling me you can't pay your rent with this? Are you telling me you can't feed yourself with Ketanji Brown Jackson? By the way, I hope you guys realize Ketanji, anyone who climbs to this level in the judicial branch is not pro-Black. And she said she is not here to be an activist, which white people love. They're like, yeah, keep that slave-ridden constitution. Y'all don't want to hear you say a peep about it. And then Ketanji like, no, yes, massa. I promise you, I won't question none of it. She's like, I am not here to interpret it. I'm not here to be an activist. I am here to implement the law on the books as it is. The ones who were written by slave owners. And that's the law that Ketanji Brown Jackson is extremely excited to uphold.
Hey, Nick, let me ask you that. Nick CJ, answer this question for me. What good has there been for Black people substantively since the appointment of Clarence Thomas? See that? Everybody hear that silence? CJ and Nick were like,
wait till we hear what they say. JB, they got some. They got some for you. Trust me. Like let's continue. Okay.
Go ahead.
They got some for you. JB. Don't worry.
Okay.
So if you wasn't impressed that the Democrats had the first Black female Supreme Court justice, they're supposed to give you the fuzzies. Give me the fuzzies. I'm working every day. Every day with the fuzzies. Thinking, yeah, man. Yeah, I know my mom is suffering through medical debt right now, getting her wage garnishes. Don't really matter. I'm glad Ketanji Brown Jackson is. Yeah, my grandma died prematurely because they didn't have medical debt. But man, thank God for Ketanji. This is what white people think of us. This is what white liberals think of us, guys. And I have so much. I actually gotta be careful here. I wouldn't say disdain. I think that's too hard. But I have no respect for the Black people who see this shit like, yes!
Yeah.
And I guarantee you something. I'll move on. I know I'm going.
It's the same people that like Obama. It's the same people that like Obama.
Yeah, every single Black person that does that, who like Obama, who read this article, like, oh my God, we make so much advancement. These are class traders. I promise you, every single one of them are Black capitalists. Anyway, let me continue. I know this story going long as hell. Look at this. In case you wasn't just impressed by Ketanji, we got record numbers of Black female judges. This is the Black agenda.
People, they want us to celebrate coons. They want us to celebrate people who have been proven white supremacist uplifters through the judicial system that's based off slavery. And we're supposed to celebrate that. You see how white supremacists tell you? They tell you who you're going to celebrate. Nigga, you celebrating these people that's enforcing white supremacy laws. Celebrate them. We trust these ones enough to give them these positions.
Absolutely.
I find it funny.
Go ahead, Debbie.
I find it funny how people talk about there is a lot of progress within our judicial system for Black people with Black judges, and yet there's no progress within our policing system, even though we have a lot of Black police officers.
Black police officers, I say this all the time, but I drill this home. They are the worst cops. Black cops have a chip on their shoulder because they had to prove to the white cop that they won't take it easy on their own community. That's why you see this. There's one video that came out like 2 weeks ago. This black guy, the black cop, punching this old man, old black guy, because they feel like they have to prove to Billy here that I am not going to take it easy on the Negroes. I am one of you guys. They are a cop first. They're black second. The same with the capitalist class. So anyway, so we got the judges on pack. You know, they're gonna really fight to get the prisoners that locked up in marijuana, our black brothers and sisters, our political prisoners. I'm sure that these black judges are right on that. Anyway, let's continue.
What could they do, Nick? Like literally, let's turn them into Malcolm X judges. Do you understand one ruling? The judicial review, they will yank these people from the bench.
They will.
White supremacy will definitely yank these motherfuckers if they do not perform correctly. They'll find something. Some scandal.
The marijuana pardons, as a candidate, Joe Biden called for marijuana convictions to be expunged. In October, President Biden partially fulfilled that campaign promise. Why are we supposed to be okay with this?
Partially.
And they want us to be okay with this when Joe Biden said he would decriminalize marijuana, which he has not done. So what they train us to do is, if they give you a promise and then they break that promise by giving us a crumb, we are supposed to be happy with that. There have been more federal arrests for marijuana under Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Do you guys know that? But we're supposed to cheer this on. And
but the pardon didn't even affect anybody in prison.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It literally affects 0 people in prison.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, CJ. Great point. Great point. This as soon as I read this, I rolled my eye. I'm like, all right, now you motherfuckers are desperate because now they about to start listing. They about to start listing all the campaign promises of Biden that he did not fulfill, and then they're gonna portray it as a good thing. You guys see what they did? This is a failed campaign promise. His campaign promise was to decriminalize marijuana. That was a promise. He didn't do that. But he said, oh, well, he partially fulfilled the campaign commitment. So black people, shut the fuck up. You should be happy. And like CJ said, they didn't release anyone in federal prison on that. So all the brothers and sisters that we know in state penitentiaries, they want to mislead. And I just now thought about this. CJ, how many people know that? Like how many people? So if you're an average person and you're reading this, you thinking that Biden let niggas out of prison, bro?
Yes.
You see how they mislead you? That lies about mission. They don't directly say the lie, but they hope that you're not informed. So if you're reading this, you're like, oh my God, this Biden, man, I didn't know Jim Crow Joe would do that.
In the two ways this works, because the conservative people is left out. So for them to also assume that too. Look, they're letting all the drug dealers out of jail. Look.
Woke Joe Biden.
Yes, that's how they're using the same story, embellishing both sides, acting like this guy is a leftist, and then they're acting like he's actually releasing somebody. So it's like a double whammy for the black community, indigenous community, brown community. It's a double whammy because not only is it a lie one way, but then it's a lie the other way that white people believe, like the vast majority of the white population believe. Go ahead.
Now look at this part. This is when we really get in the weeds. Because if you're reading this, you may not understand why this is bullshit. But black capitalism is not our route to liberation. You guys see what Democrats do? Democrats they prop up black capitalists who exploit our labor. Black capitalists exploit the labor of black workers. Yep. That people don't understand. So they say $1 billion in loans for black-owned businesses.
You ever heard of Tyler Perry? His whole structure is built on the backs of underpaying people, and capitalists view that as great. That's why they like him. They view like, look what he's doing. He's cranking out 2 or 3 episodes when it's only supposed to be 1 a week. He's doing 3. It's the same actors. What is he doing? It's the black face allowing the slaves to work even harder. Work harder, nigga. That's what he's basically doing. And now he's looked at as some sort of genius. That's literally his model, is to extract more labor out of the same. That's literal, and pay less. That is literally what he does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to ask you guys this question. for one, the black capitalists will argue that this number is not enough, right? They was like, oh my God, we're not getting enough. I'm not even going there. We don't have to go there. I'm gonna ask you guys this question. What do you guys think would be used better? If we give $1 billion for black-owned small businesses, meaning the black bourgeoisie, or giving $1 billion to the black working class, how do you think that money be spent better? How about get that money to the black working class who then spend their money at black businesses? Oh, that's too much common sense, though. They don't do that. Neoliberalism is all about profit at the top. They will give the black capitalists money while the black homeless people, 40% of the population, by the way, you go fuck yourself. If you're one of them black homeless people, what does this do for you? If you don't have a business, what does this do to you? I'm asking this question to people to think about. How did this help our community? You are literally just propping up more black capitalists that are going to exploit black labor. Sorry, Yahoo always does that after a while. At least for our computer. Let me get back to where we left off. Like the story continues. So yeah, the marijuana pardons, and I see liberals repeat this all the time because they fall, like liberals are reading this, they writing this shit down. TYT probably writing this shit down. Like this is what we're gonna say. Executive.
This is what we're gonna say.
This is the most disrespectful thing they put on this goddamn article.
Oh, what they put on here, man? I can't see.
Executive order on police reform.
What? What is the order?
The guy who took COVID relief money and gave it to the police, and then they quoted, look at this article. On the second anniversary of George Floyd murder, President Biden signed an executive order to advance accountability in policing after the Congress failed to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing. They put that there like that's a good thing, like that was a bad thing. So the Democratic Party introduced the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which gave more money to the police.
Yeah, crazy.
And then the only reason it didn't pass is because of Republicans who love the police, but they love the white identity politics so much. It's like we can't have a bill named after a black. They had no idea. They had no idea that bill gave more money to the police. They just opposed it on instinct.
Yeah.
This is such a slap in the face to George Floyd because you're literally giving more money to the same institution that killed him.
Right.
Yep. It's literally. I said it before. This is Republicans wish they can disrespect the black community the way the Democratic Party does on a regular basis. Inviting George Floyd to the White House and then naming a bill after him that gives more money to the police. Nigga, Ron DeSantis looking around like he wish he could disrespect us like that.
Wish he could do that. I mean, they wish they can disrespect any sort of constituency. There's no constituency that's more disrespected than the black constituency, considering that we are dependent on for them to win, literally.
You guys see how many
such a sad case.
Sorry, my bad, CJ. But you guys see how many lies by omission that there are in this? So they put this here. So there's some black person who don't know what this is. They see George Floyd, justice and policing. They're like, oh man, Joe Biden tried to do that and didn't pass Congress? You guys see how American propaganda works? They don't even have to outright lie to you. They just leave information out. That's all they gotta do. Lie by omission. Same as a lie. Anyway,
But what do you think that means, though? That you can have something worldwide protest like what happened to George Floyd, and they have the audacity. I'm saying, what does that speak to? That they literally go, nigga, he's dying and crying about his mom, nigga, and we giving him more money, bitch. Like that's literally what they're doing to us. And Cop City is another one. That literally was born out of the George Floyd. And they didn't say, oh, let's quail all the worries at all these protesters. They didn't say that. They said, no, motherfucker, we doubling down. That's what they said. What is this saying, Nick and JB? To me, this is a clear sign that ruling class is saying it's a green light fascism is here, sir. It's here. It is no other reason that they can say that they can send $100 billion to Ukraine while people in the homeless population is going up. There's no way that these two things can exist. Go ahead, Nick, JB.
Yeah, I was just raging at this article because I hate Yahoo as a website. I'm gonna try.
I don't know how you can go on it. It always has these little things that take you to different
Yeah, that's why I was like raging because they keep fucking close to my article. But I'll try to be. I'm gonna wrap this story up real quick. And let's continue to read what they say is a but feel free to chime in because I told you this the first story is gonna be more discussion based. Student loan debt cancellation. Oh my fucking god, dude!
My
All right, I'm gonna head out.
They don't care, Nick. They will
They don't
literally
care.
tell you anything, nigga. They'll list on their Jerry Curl juice, nigga. They don't give a damn what they tell us, man. They will tell us anything.
Drip, drip,
Roll
drip,
down.
drip,
I guarantee
drip,
you say
drip,
Jerry
drip.
Curl juice down there. Go
Oh
ahead,
my
Jay. Go
God.
ahead, Nick.
Oh my god!
They don't care, man. They don't care at all. They don't care.
Yep.
So why would you give them credit? Like I literally look how they phrase this. This is one of the most gaslighting articles I read in a long time. Look at this. While President Biden's much anticipated student loan debt cancellation plan is currently held up in federal court system. Why is this on the list then? It didn't pass. You got
You get credit for it.
Before that Joe Biden set it up to fail. But liberals in the mainstream media, we don't care about that. We're going to give them that credit anyway for something that did not pass. Unbelievable. Like, I'll try to be faster. Interrupt if you guys want. But we've been an hour on this story, so I'm going to try to speed it up. Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act. The cops are lynching us. DHS is lynching Haitians. The U.S. military is bombing Somalia. What does it do for black people? What does it do for black people? Oh, so if I get killed, you guys put a mark on it. You got to check and say, oh, this count as a lynching. This doesn't do shit for us, especially when you fund the police more, funding the people who are actually responsible for the violence against our communities. Anyway, let me. I said I wasn't going over. Let me read the last point. Jesus Christ, this article is something else, man. Inflation Reduction Act. You guys see Inflation Reduction Act.
They didn't use that one.
I'm gonna go quicker here. I'm gonna just so you guys see all. I'm gonna move on to that's the last one they put. Oh my, this is like literally the most lying fucking article I've ever seen in my life.
That's literally the opposite. The Inflation Reduction Act disproportionately affects Black and Brown communities. There's an article on the Black Agenda Report that talks all about it. Black Agenda Report, just go check that out because it's ridiculous. The Inflation Reduction Act is absolutely it's what they call it, environmental racism.
Yeah, I gotta read that article. I didn't read that article yet. I definitely gotta read that. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And now, just to make my statement a little bit faster, I'm gonna show you guys this here. This is why I went a little bit out of order earlier. So after struggling to find things that actually benefit black people, now they're like, oh, let's just say we gave a lot of black people jobs to sell you out. So this is the people that they prop up as heroes of the black community. And here's the story at a glance. A number of black Americans made history in 2020 by breaking the glass ceilings. I read that already. Ketanji Brown Jackson became the first black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Hakeem Jeffries is the first black person to lead House Democrats. And if you're reading this, you're not a political junkie. You don't know that Hakeem Jeffries is a hardcore Zionist, a corporate stooge of the highest order. But anyway, let me move on. I'm trying to cut my rant down. Brittany Griner made history. And I meant to say this on the other story. I'm gonna scroll down here a little bit. I want to make sure I make this point. Them including, look at all these horrible people. Karine Jean-Pierre.
What?
These are
the liar.
Anyway, let me go down to this part because these are the people they want us to look up to. The worst people: Hakeem Jeffrey, then Max
Frost. Huh?
They love them some black Zionists, don't they? They love them.
They love a piece that sell out.
Now I'm gonna cover this just because this is the last point in the story. I'll pass to you, CJ, for your story. Brittany Griner. Don't ever put fucking Brittany Griner on one of these goddamn lists. So essentially, we as black people, and this is not an attack on Brittany Griner at all. But as black people, we are supposed to celebrate Brittany Griner being freed. So the message is, if you can play basketball well, if you can dribble well, if you become famous, then we give a fuck about your freedom. And we're supposed to celebrate that? How about the brothers and sisters that you guys continue to lock up and use as prison slave labor? So if you're in the United States, you cannot use this as a victory for you. You guys understand what I'm saying? Do not use Brittany Griner. So I guess I guess we gotta grow 6'7". We gotta learn how to do a dunk. We gotta shoot free throws. We gotta shoot a 3-pointer. Then we might get free. That's what they do all the time. Oh my God, isn't things in Black America so good? Do you see how much money LeBron James made last year? You gotta see all these rich millionaire Black people who now dribble, know how to rap. So the only way we can get free is by becoming an athlete or a rapper. Once again, not attack on Brittany Griner, but this is not a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Not a positive.
Or you can do what Colin Powell said, and that's join the military or the police department.
Yeah.
That's the other
Yo,
one.
Brittany Griner being released should not be anything special or out of the ordinary. Meaning that a Black person being released from prison for marijuana should have been something that happened 1,000 times because we sought justice in this country. She should be like something like, oh, they released her. Oh, okay, cool. Another one. Okay. Because here's the thing. Yes, it's a good thing, but the fact that it's so rare should not have happened. That's the problem. And it should, and while Brittany Griner gets released from a Russian prison, we still have people for the same type of crime that she was put in for a Russian prison and an American one. And yet they're still there. So it's like, come on. They're celebrating Brittany Griner, but it's like, wait a minute. That's like somebody getting put in prison. It's stupid. I can't even go. Like,
You can't even think of one.
yeah, because it's like, okay, this person been put in prison for marijuana, but all these other people are still in prison for marijuana. But you release one person from prison and you celebrate that, but all the other people are still in prison for that.
And they trying to sell it as a win. Like they want us to read
What?
like, oh my god, I might be able to get free too. That's what they want us to think, right? Like what other takeaway do they want us to have? Now I'm gonna read this comment. I'll pass to you, CJ. Actually, you can do announcements after this, CJ. There was a good discussion segment that what I planned it to be. Jamon 93 said, I like how Nick put it. Putin freed more Black people than Biden has. And that is true. And that is what the article do not want to tell you. Oh, yeah, this last receipt. This is not going to take long. I just want to put it on my screen so you guys see it. This is to my reference. You see how liberals, they use the fact that Black people are in high places as a positive thing. Look at this headline from last month. Black mayors to lead 4 largest U.S. cities after Bass wins L.A. race.
Okay.
How is that supposed to be a good thing for you guys, considering the state of Black community? And I keep asking Black people this. We have all these Black mayors. We have all these Black senators. We have Black presidents, Black vice presidents. Why is things not getting better? This is what when I'm here growing up as a kid, I'm here thinking like people was like, oh, we could just more Black politicians, that'd be great. We already there. We already there. It does not work. So Black politicians, Black members of the ruling class means nothing unless they're part of a third party. Doesn't mean nothing.
They're literally some of the worst people. Like Eric Adams is
Yeah.
literally one of the worst people on the fucking planet in American politics. And then Karen Bass is about to demolish homeless population. She's about to not be good, nice to them. So don't think these people, man, they're just coons. They're coons for cover, and that's what they're doing. They're covering white supremacy up with a brown, a black face, a person of color, and that's it. But they're doing the same, delivering the same sort of policies. So
yeah. So
CJ,
you can do announcements if you want. You can do your story, and I'm gonna say one of my other stories from Monday. So I'm gonna do one more story, and I have to split after that. So go ahead. CJ.
Yeah. We're gonna do the Cop City story because we've been putting it off. It is a very important story for us to discuss. So we wanted to make sure we included it in before this is we wanted to include it in 2022. And JB, this is the last stream. thanks for joining us. This is the last stream for Nick and CJ stream of
Oh, yeah, this is
2000
my RBN stream this year.
and
Nice.
yeah, 2022. I was just looking at our second episode was barely a year ago. It was like I think we started in December doing this show.
Yeah, Nick and
so
CJ,
so and then the next episode was like after the new year in January. So
yeah, I
we're
didn't realize
barely
that. Nice.
just completing a year with the Nick and CJ show. So this is it's kind of it's kind of nice to have this be the last stream of the year. It happened to fall on the 31st.
Yeah.
For us, I don't know if you're going to be streaming later, JB, or anything, or anybody else is streaming on here, but it's good to be here for the last day. Yeah, glad I was happy to get a little bit better so I can stream in the last couple of days here. But let's get those likes up. We're at 217 likes. We're at 330 people watching. Can we move that to 300 likes? 300 likes, that's like 85 more likes. So 85 more people hit that like button. And then we're going to proceed to some other announcements. This was our last count. In the last 5 days or so, we got like 500 subscribers, 400 or 500 subscribers. In the last like 3 or 4 days. And so here's where we're at now. The target is hashtag RBN to 30K. So let's keep pushing. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure if you are subscribed, double check because you will be unsubscribed by YouTube. It happens all the time, literally. So remember, we're still trying to shoot to 300 likes. That's like 85 more to get us to 300. And now let's do a chat check because we didn't go to chat. Any comments? Is that somebody's smoke alarm? I think it sounds like. Let's zoom up here. I'm just gonna toss up some more comments. Yes, 0 people out of jail. That's what the Biden pardon did for nobody. Let's put this comment up here. The sad part is that nothing will change. They want it this way. We are in surveillance state. We can't even truly organize. Yep. That's why they want to be wherever we're at because they are definitely afraid. Capitalists know that capitalism is terrible for everybody else. Go ahead.
And they gave the police more surveillance powers using COVID-19 and liberals cheered that on. So they in 2023, they're going to be stronger and faster, have more equipment. And if you are an advocate of the working class, the police state has to be one of your number one priorities. And there are a lot of people who call themselves right-wing populists. There are a lot of those people, and that's not their number one priority. That means you're not serious about working class movement. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, I'm not. We gotta maybe in 2023 we'll have a discussion about right-wing populism. We'll have an in-depth discussion. And I think in 2023, let's have some more unusual conversations that we haven't had yet. Maybe invite some conservative people on, maybe invite some liberal people on, and see if we can have some discussions with people. We also want to, we also want to make sure that we get our chapters up and going in all of our cities this year. Yeah. That's really my only goal.
That's my number
to get everybody, staff for your chapter. And it takes a while. You got to look for staff for your chapter, and so that's my dream for 2023. Either of you want to chime in on like things that you want like immediately that's on your horizon for RBN in 2023? For me, it's chapters. I really want us to start working on that. What about for you, Nick or JB? Anything that you're looking forward to 2023 in RBN?
Yeah, the chapters is a pretty big one, and also if we continue to grow, we continue to get more Patreon. I want to do more on the ground stuff. There's not a lot of stuff that happened in Kansas City. Like there's not a lot of like action and stuff, but might be able to travel around, interview people. I want to cover protests. So RB as a network is still very young. We're not even 2 years old yet. We're less than 2 years old. So we're gonna really expand as a network. by having chapters, people on the ground, host a few more mutual aid events, and yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on next year. I got a lot of big ambitions. Some of them I don't even want to say yet, but I got big ambitions for next year. But go ahead, JP.
Sorry, I had some noise in the background, but some of the things that I wanted to do was to increase more visibility into lesser known stories. Like for instance, this year I gave attention to the story about Pushan Brown, who was basically essentially killed allegedly by Amazon because she was doing COVID testing for Amazon, even though she wasn't trained for it. Wanting to do more activists who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, especially ones who are anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, who are working to really push for more of us to have a larger voice in being leaders of this movement, because a lot of times we're not listened to. Those of us who are disabled, our voices typically are silenced because they just want us to disappear. So I want to be more of a vocal platform for them, so that I can say, look, here's my platform. Here's you speak. Here you speak. And I'm doing that not just with RBN, but my own channel too. So doing that more, that's what I hope to do this year, especially.
Dude, I would love to be there. Like, once again, that one thing I want to do, I couldn't, like, I made a lot of sacrifices to build this network, and like traveling is definitely not something I had the luxury of doing. Like, my income from the time I used to sell cars from doing this is cutting like 25%. I'm happy about that. I don't make a lot of money doing this, but we can continue to grow. We can have funds where we can travel and do that stuff. I definitely will attend and cover these kind of things. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, absolutely. We can jump into it. You can continue to throw up those nice comments. But let's jump into the next story. There's a couple of quick videos I want to just show to just get everybody the understanding of what is Cop City and what it's about. So let me play this video first. It's a 1-minute video. Is this the right one? Yeah. 1-minute video. She briefly talks about Cop City. Let's listen.
They want to suppress our movements. They want to stop abolition. They want to stop Black liberation. And we know that that's what the training facility will be used to do. They'll have explosive testings. They'll have a gun range and unlimited resources to practice ways to harm, to brutalize, and to kill Black, brown, and poor people here in the city. We don't want that. So we know, too, obviously, city council, electoral politics is not going to be our pathway to freedom here. But we also understand that while we build our own people power and build our own institutions, we also have to make sure that the scope of policing does not get any bigger in this city. Mind you, all of this is happening at a time when families are struggling to have a roof over their heads, to meet their basic household needs, to feed their families. And instead of investing money into these communities, into these households, city council is giving money to the same police officers who are going to carry out those evictions, who are going to criminalize poor families, and who are going to harass those who lose their housing and become part of the homeless population here in the city.
So she hit a lot of points there. The homeless population in the city, funding the same cops that's going to be evicting workers from their homes. Like, this is so unashamed to me. Like, they're so like no sort of
it's so obvious their role now. Like,
yeah,
like
so
I don't know if
weird.
it's always, you can make the argument it's always been this obvious, now just more disciplined than I used to be. But I have no idea how people repeat or fall for the logic that we need cops to protect people. And whenever I hear people who criticize defund the police, that's literally all they go to. Think about it. If you have critique of defund the police, you say we need cops. Why? And it's usually, oh, we defund the police, then we will be unsafe. You sweet summer ignorant child. Because that is how they fight against defund the police. If we defund the police, we'll be less safe. Even though the cops are openly showing people they only have one thing they do, and that's serve capital, serve landlords. We did a story yesterday how they was unapologetically serving Southwest Airlines. Actually, you wasn't there, CJ. In my solo stream, literally yesterday, he was talking to a customer. Instead of helping the customer out, the customer had legitimate information for the cop. He said, "No, I was sent here by Southwest Airlines." So they just say it. They're not here for you. They're here for the capitalists, the ruling class. And that person who you play, CJ, she had her thumbs on the post. The working class that are challenging the police, they're like the only serious people in politics. Like whenever I see a movement and they're like, oh, we care about workers, we are right-wing populists, but they have no criticism of the police. These are the most deeply unserious people. So I had a conversation with these people before, like, okay, so because I was calling, it was quite some time ago, where he said you guys need to embrace the relationship with right-wing populism. Damn, I actually need to update. I need to upload one of those debates, man. But I was talking to this dude. I'm like, okay, let's say I'm with a right-winger and we agree we need healthcare. I'm with a right-wing populist and he agree we need to end the wars. Then what? Are we gonna pass through legislation? Nigga, we need to hit the streets. So then when we hit the streets, then the cops come beat our ass. Are you gonna apologize for them? You guys see how being pro-police is incompatible with a working class movement? So when shit hit real, what side are you gonna take? But go ahead, JB. I think you want to try.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen really quick because this debunks the entire. Oh, if we get rid of police, then we need them to protect us. Here. This is an article out of Mises.org. It says police have no duty to protect you. Federal court affirms yet again.
Yep.
Says neither constitution nor state law impose a general duty upon police officers or other governmental officials to protect individual persons from harm, even when they know the harm will occur, said Daryl L. Hutchinson, a professor and associate dean at University of Florida School of Law. Police can watch someone attack you, refuse to intervene, and not violate the Constitution. The Supreme Court has repeatedly held that this government only has a duty to protect persons who are in custody, he pointed out. Courts have rejected the argument that students are in custody of school officials while they're on campus. Custody is narrowly confined to situations where a person loses his or her freedom to move freely and seek justice on their own, such as prisons, jails, or mental institutions. Basically meaning, what in the world are they going to do if they don't have a constitutional duty to protect you? Guess what? If we get rid of them, then the exact same state that we'll be in is what we are in now. And it's funny. There's a running joke, especially that goes on in the hood. If something happens to you, like say you get robbed, say somebody steals something from you, and you call the cops in order to get help, how long is it before the cops come and attend to you?
I can tell you in Compton and Los Angeles, it was a running joke because it's several hours. And then if they showed up, you might be the one going to jail.
Yep.
You got a tail light. They're going to look at your tail light. It's like, oh, sir, I didn't even call you about my car. But they're looking at your tail light.
Over here.
I didn't call you about my car. I called you about this other thing. Let me see your license. My license? Oh, you got a ticket. That's literally what happens. That's literally what happens.
I know you're in Cali, CJ, but they do that shit here when you call the police. They like, that's weed I smell. That's all of a sudden they start investigating you. That's a good point. But go ahead.
So that goes to show. Then the question is, police abolition, would that change anything for us, especially those of us who are in poor communities? Let me ask this question to people. How would actually police abolition actually directly affect your life in a positive way? How, or in a negative way? How would it actually literally change your life?
That's actually a good question, JB, because white people are super opposed to defund the police, but there were studies showing, Zoya, she explained this on one of our old shows, that a high percentage of extremely high, I don't got a number on top of my head, but extremely high percentage of white people never even encounter the police on a yearly basis. So they just be making up like what you're experiencing with the police. They like, oh my God, RBN, you guys don't like the police? Aren't they great? Oh my God, Nick, did you say they're no good?
You mean to tell me that's not fair? You tell me how that's not white fear, glaring white fear, that they don't even have no need for the police,
Yeah,
but they're the ones that's talking about keep funding the police.
absolutely.
And you tell me that's not about white fear. What do you need us to? What do you need? You need police to be over there, keeping those niggas over there. Is what white people are saying.
And go ahead, JB.
Because there's no reason for you to need the police at all. You should be the main one saying defund the police. Why aren't you fiscally conservative? Why aren't you being fiscal responsibility? Like these people aren't producing a product that's worthy of the money you're giving them. But you're willing to give more money. Why is that? White America, why?
And to that point, go ahead, JB. Go ahead, JB.
Well, no, I'm going to ask a very easy question for you to answer. And then I want the people to listen to your answer, and then we'll follow through. Okay. Nick, you are one of the authors of 10 Demands. What is one of the primary sources of crime? Go ahead, Nick.
That's a vague question, but the cops make it up. Whatever they deem a crime, whatever they deem to be a crime.
But what is one of the primary reasons why people commit crime?
Okay.
Economics.
They try and get out of poverty, right?
Okay. So if we got rid of poverty, then what would happen to the crime rate, Nick, CJ?
Nick, JB, they don't care about why people are committing crime. Nick was on a debate, and the guy, I saw the debate, Nick. That guy literally said, I don't care why people are committing crimes. Lock the motherfuckers up. They don't care. So you tell me, if you're that concerned with safety, how aren't you answering the question why these motherfuckers are committing crime? And you're serious about safety? I'm supposed to take you seriously. But you never even thought to ask that question. That makes sense to you?
And the thing is, I'm gonna show you guys why. I'm gonna explain to you guys why people support about the police is really about colonialism. It's really about colonialism. That's really what it is. So remember, if you love the police and you think the police is so great, have them in your neighborhood.
Yes.
So I explained earlier how white people barely have interaction with the police on a yearly basis. And then I'm sure that number goes up exponentially based on class, right? So poor white people probably run to the police more than bourgeoisie white people do. So I'm looking at middle class, bourgeoisie white America. Why do you want the police? Because let's think about it. You want to keep yourself safe. So why not allow black communities to abolish police in their area? But then you can have this is my form of abolition. This is what I believe in. I talked to Zoe, I talked to a lot of abolitionists. They kind of agree. Everyone got different pins. We're not like a monolith. But at my route is if we have a community that want to abolish the police, they should be able to abolish the police. But if you have a middle class America, if you live in Overland Park, there's a wealthy suburban area where I used to work. All the businesses there, all the millionaires are there. If you are afraid of crime, then you keep the fascist police in your neighborhood. But in the black community, let us figure out our own shit. But they don't want that, CJ, because they support colonialism. They support sending their guys in to control other populations of people, even though that has nothing to do with their day-to-day life. You got people in Tennessee talking about black people getting killed in Chicago. Why the fuck do you care? Like, what about your area? But go ahead, JB.
And the crazy part is we did try to do that. Remember when the Black Panthers actually tried to parole their own streets?
Yes.
And they tried to actually do that by patrolling their own streets? Really, if the police would have left them alone, they actually would have been saving money through the state and the cities. Be like, oh, black people, they can patrol their own streets. Okay, they got it. All right, let them do it. And then guess what? That would have decreased the amount of money that would have been more fiscally responsible because black people were patrolling their own streets. And on top of it, then guess what? We would have been able to keep ourselves from dying left and right. But guess what? They didn't like that because they saw us with guns. And then guess what? That's when gun reform came in. That's when they actually did it. And who was it that did it? Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize. Gun reform happened as a revolt against black people actually
using their Second Amendment rights.
Exactly.
Yep. The Black Panthers went, we have the video. The Black Panthers went to the state capitol in California. Ronald Reagan happened to be at the same time, was there talking to some white like school kids. the fucking media left his side and went and saw Black Panthers, and they rent because they were high profile people, started looking at the Black Panthers. They're rushing through the freaking state capitol with their fucking rifles. So they was like, oh, we can't have this shit. And you saw how quickly the law chick switched. You saw that quickly. They said, oh no, we can't have this happening here.
Yeah, they're like, no.
Yeah, it says a lot of things about the guilty conscience. It says a lot of things because up until that point, the Second Amendment was fine until some Black people read the law and said, wait a minute, let's go ahead and let's try this law out that they said in California. And Huey, who was studying the penal codes in California, he was the one who was like, let's go do this. Let's go do this, because he was the one that was studying all. He represented himself in a lot of trials. He studied the law almost like a self-taught lawyer, but we digress. The next part I'm going to let you finish what you were saying, but the next part I have is just a quick radio interview that Margaret Kimberly has with somebody, an activist out in Atlantic City. Go ahead if you were going to say something.
I was about to say base auntie Margaret Kimberly.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys know we love Mark here. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, we're just going to listen just to get the gist of the story, because I still feel like there might be a lot of missing pieces to the story. So let's listen. This person kind of breaks it down, and then we'll go to the Democracy Now video, because Black Power Media was on there talking about it, and we can play his video. So let's listen.
Welcome to Black Agenda Radio. I'm Margaret Kimberly. Matthew Johnson is a minister and activist in Atlanta and interim executive director at Beloved Commune. He joins us to discuss the building of a police training facility that is popularly known as Cop City. Tell us about this project for our listeners who may not be familiar with it.
The project, as we know it to be Cop City, is a plan to build out the largest militarized police training complex in the country. By virtue of that, most likely the largest militarized police training facility in the world, right here in Atlanta.
So let's just take a moment to digest that. The largest police training facility in the world. They want to put that in Atlantic City, in Atlanta. This is Cop City, right in an urban. I think they call it like an urban woods. But let's let him speak on it a little more, and then if we have any more questions, let me see. What did I click here? Here we go.
Atlanta, Georgia, and this was done directly in response to the George Floyd uprisings, which is the largest mass movement that we've ever seen in this country, well, ever in the world, but specifically when it comes to working in police brutality.
So I'll pause it there. Now think about it, Nick and JB. You have the largest uprising against police brutality in the world.
Yeah.
And the police state and the ruling class response to that is to create the largest police training facility on the planet. That's their response.
Yep.
What the fuck are we gonna do, man? These people we think we're gonna get something done through electoralism. We think we're gonna have a petition. We really think that? Look what the response that they have to the largest protest in history.
Now compare that to the quote unquote authoritarian China. And I'm putting together a segment. Maybe I can unveil it next week. I'm trying to get Danny on to do the segment, someone like that. But there were protests in China about the zero COVID policy. And in response to the protest, you know what China did? They changed the damn policy. And now they have an ongoing public debate about that. In the United States, we protested against the police. So then the ruling class said, fuck you, you want me to rule the police bigger. What country sound more democratic The Chinese Communist Party, as you guys love to call them in America, right? Instead of China, the Chinese Communist Party listened to the protesters. The United States government penalized the people. It's all we see protesters, we doing the exact opposite. Never do that shit again, or we increase it even more. Which country is the authoritarian fascist regime? To me, the answer is obvious. But go ahead, CJ.
I mean, even the Joe Biden administration participated in it. After the George Floyd, they gave him more money. At the State of the Union, he didn't even need to say it. We don't need to defund the police. We need to fund the police more. That's a direct response to worldwide protests. Let's go ahead if you're gonna.
Oh, go ahead, CJ. Go ahead.
All right, so let's let me know if you wanted to stop. I'll let it play a little bit longer.
We know that Atlanta is the blackest city in the country, and it is also the most surveilled city. And what we have to realize is that this is deeply tied to the way that this city is policed. So in addition to this military training facility having deleterious effects on Black people in general, it's having a direct effect because of where they're putting it. In the South Atlanta area that already suffers significantly from flooding, they're removing the largest urban forest in the country to put the largest police training facility. I can't see how there could be any clearer example of environmental racism as well.
So we have funding the police, we have not responding to protests, and on top of that, let's throw in some environmental racism too on top of that. All to serve what? The police state?
Capital.
Just despicable. I'll let it play some more.
And not to mention, there have been several groups like the Rivershed Water Alliance that have really focused on how it is that this space has had significant issues with the sewage flooding into the water supply every time that it rains more than 1/4 of an inch. I mean, anybody that's been to Atlanta in the summer and spring realize how commonly that happens. So what we're looking at is there are so many ways that this proposed facility is endangering the lives of our folks, and it needs to be stopped. And we have to hold our folks accountable in order to do it.
When you say hold our folks accountable, are you referring to government and elected officials?
I say that to say this because I believe that Atlanta can exist in a certain Black American mythos that we have to unpack. And so, I mean, we have lots of Black faces in high places. However, Atlanta also has the largest racial wealth gap in the country, where the median household income for Black people is 1/3 that of the median white household income. And so when I say our folks, there are so many people and so many Black people that are held in high esteem in these political offices, or whether they're just influential in pop culture, that turn a blind eye to these glaring issues. Although Atlanta has this attached or this label, the Black Mecca. So these are the types of like issues that we're constantly dealing with on the ground, just being able to uncouple this idea that Atlanta is this flourishing and prospering place for Black folks, when quite frankly, the amassed wealth, Atlanta's elite, is predicated on having a permanent Black underclass. And we
Did you hear that last part? Permanent is predicated on it having a Black permanent underclass. So they're trying to dress up this, Atlanta to be this Black Mecca, but look what's bubbling underneath. Look what's happening in the urban.
You guys see the real face of Black capitalism? You guys see the real
Yes.
face of Black. Atlanta is where Black capitalism will go to thrive, and they got a fucking police state. You couldn't write it better than that. You couldn't make our point better than that.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
All right. Go unless you wanted to chime in right here, JB. I have another video. This one is a democracy now with Kamal. But go ahead, JB, if you wanted to chime in. I can't see either of you right now.
Yeah. So it's crazy how a lot of times people will talk about, well, we need to fund the police more, and this makes me feel like, yeah, they're really gearing up for more of an SS style type of
Mm-hmm.
uh, force. Um, I've said this before, and many people will look at me and say I'm being hyperbolic when actually I'm being literal. I do feel like we live in a fascist state. The thing is that it's just like a pot of hot oil. You don't realize how hot it is until a drop of water hits it, and it starts splashing everywhere and sparking everywhere. The problem is that a lot of people haven't seen that drop of water hit the oil yet, and they don't know how hot it really is. And right now, what's going on is they're gearing up because here's the issue. They see underpinnings of social unrest. Now, they can't just outright force us to do what the state or what the oligarchs want because they know that we'll resist against it. So they'll dress it up and say, well, this is for your safety, when really it's for our containment. And so, because of that, then they will build this up and say, oh, this cage that we're putting around you, oh, that's just for your safety. Yeah, it's not against you. It's just we want to make sure you're safe. And they'll say, oh, we're trying to keep the bad people out, when really, in reality, they're trying to lock you in. And that's the way it works, is they're constantly telling you this. And it's funny how there's still a major wealth disparity in the blackest city in the country, whereas you would think, oh man, things are more egalitarian. But because it's capitalism, it's the same thing. People are still suffering. You don't think people aren't being exploited under Rihanna? You don't think that people aren't being exploited under Beyonce and Jay-Z? You don't think people aren't being exploited under Oprah and Tyler Perry? Byron Allen? You don't think they're not being exploited under them? Capitalism knows no color. Capitalism exploits people no matter who is over it. Just because an African country gets bombed by a black drone operator doesn't make it better.
Great point, JB. All right, Nick, I'm gonna pass it to you in just a second. Let's just watch this. It's about 45 seconds. It's what Kamal from the Black Power Media. I just fast forwarded right to his part where he speaks to him about what's going on down there. So let's listen. His appearance on Democracy Now!
Georgia, where we're joined by Kamau Franklin, the founder of Community Movement Builders, part of the coalition trying to stop the construction of Cop City in Atlanta. Kamau, welcome to Democracy Now! We knew you in New York when you were part of the Center for Constitutional Rights. You've moved to Atlanta. Talk about the significance of what's happening now and 5 activists being charged with domestic terrorism.
Yes, thank you for having me. And as an update, it is now 6 activists. A day after the initial raid, another raid was done and another activist was arrested and is now being charged. So we think these charges are setting up really the idea of criminalizing dissent around Cop City. So far, these activists have been denied bail. There's a second bail hearing that is coming up. But because of the outrageous charges, the very general.
So this is a couple of days behind. So let me just give you an update. Yeah, the activists were given bail, and most of them have been bailed out. So let me just give you that update.
Charge of domestic terrorism under Georgia law, that these folks are still being held. And this has been a concerted effort by law enforcement agencies from the city, the Atlanta Police Department, the county, DeKalb Police Department, the state, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. At the federal level, the Homeland Security and FBI have all been involved in a task force which is targeting these organizers and activists on the ground for being opposed to Cop City.
And what are this?
Think of the organizations that's coming together to target activists around Cop City. Like you talking about a ruling class that does not play. They don't play when it comes to their militarized force, whether domestically or abroad.
Specific actions that they allegedly have taken to warrant these kinds of charges.
Well, the interesting thing about these arrests is that these arrests were basically a push of in the force to destroy everything that was built in terms of a resistance movement, a group of folks that we call the forest defenders in terms of the loose coalition of people who have actually moved in the forest or who spend days in the forest camping out as an act of civil disobedience. Remember, Georgia's the place where John Lewis and Good Trouble was supposed to be accepted. But civil disobedience in the forest is something that is not accepted when the police want to build a highly militarized training ground. And so while these folks were just a part of their encampment, they were raided by the police, again, by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Folks were literally sitting in tree huts where they were, all their camp equipment was destroyed. Rubber bullets were used. Guns were pointing at their head. They were involved at that particular time in no activity whatsoever. Except for the act of being in the forest. And they all were taken in and then charged in this sort of RICO or conspiracy idea that the act of protest, the act of civil disobedience, direct action is something that's now being criminalized in a statute that really doesn't get used in Georgia, that's been on the books for a number of years. And so these folks were doing absolutely nothing but being in the forest as forest defenders at the time of their arrest.
And we can stop it there. It's just amazing to me that these people are being charged with domestic terrorism. Now they're out on bail, but the charge is still domestic terrorism. That is astonishing, but it's such telling of a collapsing society where they can't no longer put on these veneers, Nick. They're just like, we're doing this shit. Fuck this. Fascism is here, sir. And that's it. Go ahead, Nick.
CJ, what did I tell you guys? I'll pass to you, JB. But what did I tell you guys? After January 6th. Remember after January 6th, Democrats said they're gonna expand what it means to be a domestic terrorist, and they're gonna go after domestic terrorism more. And then over a year ago, I told you guys they're not going after white domestic terrorists. They're gonna use this to go after Black, Indigenous, brown, and working class people. I have said this over and over again, and this example shows you that was always the plan. They was going to use January 6th to expand state power, to expand what it means to be a domestic terrorist, so they can lock us up more.
Right, and they use the face of white supremacy, which is what they're calling January 6th. Or crazy, and they say, see, this is why we need it, but that's not the application. It's never the application. Go ahead, JB.
Okay. I'm gonna get nerdy on y'all for a second. Have any of you got to see the movie Rogue One? That was a Star Wars movie. It's okay. I'll explain. So Rogue One was basically a story about how the rebels and the Rebel Alliance were stopping the construction of the Death Star, and many of the people who were in use of trying to stop the construction of the Death Star lost their lives because they knew that the Death Star would be devastating to people within the star systems, and basically the evil empire would be able to wield its power throughout the galaxy by having a planet destroying weapon. Cop City is a Death Star. And you have a lot of people who are part of the Rebel Alliance, basically a lot of leftists, a lot of activists that are trying to stop the construction of a Death Star. And guess what? Now they're being labeled as terrorists. They're being arrested. They're being detained. Because we're literally trying to stop a Death Star. Watch. There will be an Alderaan. There's going to be one. And then that's how everybody's going to find out, oh, snap, we are literally Nazi Germany again. And then guess what? They're going to be looking at us. They're going to be looking at many people who are on the left that have been screaming about this. And they're going to go, man, you guys were right. But then it's going to be too late. And then that's when we're going to go, well, what are you prepared to do in order to stop this from happening? Are you prepared to do what you need to do in order to stop this from happening. But the problem is there's too many people who are asleep. And the problem is a lot of people are looking at people like Joe Biden and go, oh, he got it. We're good. When in reality, we're not.
Well
Go
said,
ahead, Nick.
JB. Now, I have one more story. I don't know. This is not going to be as long as the first one, but you guys know I always got to do at least one good foreign policy story with you guys. Now, the Ukraine war is a fraudulent money laundering scheme that RBN and our allies have been calling out from day one. So I think it's useful as an anti-imperialist to debunk the propaganda, the pro-war propaganda we see on cable news, because this is how they prime people to accept war. Now, in doing this over the last 2 years, because I didn't watch corporate media for a long time until to RBN hit. Then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do propaganda statements to explain why I stopped watching this stuff. So I've been shocked when I've been seeing these people say the quiet part loud as hell, CJ. Loud as hell, JB. And I'm going to show you guys an example of this. They have a fucking convicted felon, Ollie North. You know, the guy who's responsible for the Iran-Contra scandal?
Mm-hmm.
Look at what this guy said on Sean Hannity. And I know you guys are going to love this. Once again, straight up said the quiet part out loud. I'm going to say Matt tweet for Larry. I don't want him to spoil it. But look at what this guy said. I want us to react. This is going to be a fun or short segment. Let's check this out.
Is that money well spent? The president's assuring us that he's going to deal with it responsibly, but $110 billion, American people aren't seeing that kind of money. It's coming out of their pockets.
Well, it's coming out of all of our pockets, but it's money well spent. In my humble opinion, this is very much.
This guy is now, he's a disgraced, convicted felon who was guilty of Iran-Contra and then was pardoned by George W. Bush Sr., by the way. So now conservatives gave him a job. Aren't they supposed to be the law and order party? They got a fucking criminal on TV. Meanwhile, they want to lecture black people. Isn't that funny? And then they asked him about his opinion about geopolitical events. And he says, once again, the fiscal conservative said it's worth his investment. And another reason I'm showing you guys this, because obviously Tucker get a lot of play, Matt Gaetz get a lot of play, but I cannot emphasize enough, this whole thing about Republicans being against the Ukraine war, that is a very small minority. And I feel like people don't understand that. There's only one senator who voted against it. Literally every single Fox News host, I've watched a lot of these segments, almost every single Fox News host, except Tucker Carlson, is all for this. So this thing where conservatives are against the Ukraine war is mostly a myth. It's more just personalities. Like every once in a while you see one random conservative talk about it. And I think that's more a reflection of the liberal class more than anything. Now, anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you guys hear this guy Unhinged Tank. But if you guys don't know, this is the guy who was convicted because of Iran-Contra. So let's continue.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming out of all of our pockets, but it's money well spent. In my humble opinion, this is very much like what Ronald Reagan did back in the 80s. And I do have some experience with that. I know that makes me a lot older than most of our viewers, but in fact, he believed in supporting freedom fighters. He did it in Latin America. He did it in Angola.
The way these people just say the quiet part out loud. He literally just admitted that U.S. foreign policy in Ukraine is similar to Ronald Reagan funding freedom fighters. They say quiet part out loud. Anyway, let me continue.
Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique. He did it in Afghanistan. Those people were willing, as the Ukrainian people are, to use their freedom fighters. He did it in Latin America. He did it in Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique. He did it in Afghanistan. Those people were willing, as the Ukrainian people are, to use their blood and our bullets. And by the way, most of that 110 billion total between the 45, the 1.7, and the previous 65, over 110 billion, is spent here in the United States. It's provided to contractors and defense logisticians and the kinds of people.
So if you guys didn't hear what he just said, he just admitted it. He just admitted this whole Ukraine thing is a money laundering scheme for American weapon manufacturers. Let me rewind that part again. Actually, I'm gonna rewind for this part. Here, you heard him admit that they're willing to sacrifice Ukrainians, and they're funding the Nazis in Ukraine the same way they funded the extreme fascist violent Contras who used to kidnap and torture people even women and children who were considered to be friendly to the Sandinistas. So this is him saying, oh yeah, right now Biden is doing the same thing Reagan did. We're funding the extreme elements of a society to advance U.S. geopolitical interests. And then he says, well, if you guys think we were just wasting the money, we're not wasting the money. This money comes right back to us because essentially a money laundering scheme where we get money to weapon defense contractors. So with that said, I'm going to play it again so you guys can hear it. And then I want you guys to respond to it. I'll get CJ.
It's coming out of all of our pockets, but it's money well spent. In my humble opinion, this is very much like what Ronald Reagan did back in the 80s. And I do have some experience with that. I know that makes me a lot older than most of our viewers. But in fact, he believed in supporting freedom fighters. He did it in Latin America. He did it in Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique. He did it in Afghanistan. Those people were willing, as the Ukrainian people are, to use their blood and our bullets. And by the way, most of that 110 billion total between the 45, the 1.7, and the previous 65, over 110 billion, is spent here in the United States. It's provided to contractors and defense logisticians and the kinds of people who build the kinds of systems that we're getting. So most of that money is spent here in America. Good, hardworking Americans have the jobs. And when you look at that kind of an investment, what would be the difference if when the giant does awake, and that's all about communist China. It's just not a plug for this book. The idea of it is the right message.
Sorry, let me play that part again. I really want to emphasize this part. Because
My bad.
Always. In this 90-second clip, he literally admits everything that are being said about the Ukraine war. In this part, I'm going to play this part again. He admits the Ukraine war is literally just a beta test for the larger war against the larger threat of China and Taiwan. Let me play the last 20 seconds again.
Here in America, good, hardworking Americans have the jobs. And when you look at that kind of an investment, what would be the difference if when the giant does awake, and that's all about communist China. It's just not a plug for this book. The idea of it is to make sure that they get the right message and to make sure that Putin gets the right message. No more invasions. And that means the people in Taiwan are going to need the same kinds of weapon systems that we're now providing to the Ukrainians.
I'm gonna pass it to you guys. I want you guys to react. This is Matt's tweet. Amazing candor from the Iran-Contra felon Ali North. Ukraine is just like Reagan's dirty war in Central America, Africa, and Afghanistan. And he's talking about funding the Azov brutal thugs, Nazis. He said that's a good idea because we used to fund the Mujahideen. He said it's a good thing. And then Matt says here, most of the aid is a kickback to weapon manufacturers and beltway contractors, like he admits. And the last thing I'm gonna say, I'll pass it to you guys for this part of the segment. Isn't it depressing that this guy had the same foreign policy as Bernie Sanders and the progressives? I know that guy sounds crazy, but that guy has the same foreign policy as Bernie Sanders as of right now. I'm sorry, I'm an asshole. I can't help but to let Bernie people know. Same geopolitical ideas. But go ahead, James. CJ, I want you guys to react to that before I move on to the next part of this short story.
That's Oliver North being Oliver North, man. He has always been a scumbag, and this is what the ruling class does, though. They're never canceled for what they do. They just re-prop them up. Like in another 10 years, Michelle Obama will be making a duet with Donald Trump. So just like they're doing with George Bush, they never pay for their sins. There's never a cancel culture for them. It's just a rebranding of imperialism. Go ahead.
That's such a great point. Now you can see why conservatives decry cancel culture. I don't give them benefit of doubt. They probably decry cancel culture. They're like, man, come on, we can't have war criminals anymore.
Yeah.
Go ahead, JB. You guys always like cancel. Oh well, you only bombed the country. You guys, your fucking principles and values.
The goal really is to spill blood. They don't care if it's Ukrainian blood or American blood. They just want to spill blood because that means they make more money. That's ultimately what this is about. They don't give a crap about Ukrainians. They don't give a crap about Russians. The thing is that they all. What is the goal of U.S. imperialism? Is to spread capitalism abroad. This is what they want to do. They want to take over Russia as far as its resources. The problem is Putin is saying, not so fast. And so that's what's going on. Is Putin also a capitalist? Yes, but he's the capitalist that's their competition. Whereas United States is McDonald's, Russia is Burger King. So the problem is that that's what they want to do. They don't, and so it's not like they're that much different. But he's like, no, we're cheaper and we're not going to exploit as much as you guys. And so United States is like, no, so we got to take you out. So that's basically what they're trying to do. And they're trying to use the blood of Ukrainians in order to do it. That's all it really is. Zelensky is nothing but a puppet of the United States and NATO regime.
Absolutely.
And so with that being said, then guess what? All this money is really just a big ass money laundering scheme in order to push that they're pushing in order to make Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman richer. That's all it is. And the thing is that some people, some of y'all with the Ukraine flag in your bio, are falling for the okie doke. Y'all falling for the grift of the military industrial complex.
And they could care about the Ukraine. They do not care about the Ukrainian people at all. The people with the Ukraine. I'll pass right back to you, Jay. But you see how this guy just said they are fighting our war. He's like proud that the Ukrainian people are fighting this battle for him. They do not care. But go ahead, James.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting how these Western nations, even when the truth is smacked them in the face, they have no comeback for it. And I'm not sure, did you ever get to take a look at that video of a young Australian Russian that basically asked a question to a moderator and to the guests about why haven't they did any type of intervention in 2014 when the coup was happening in Crimea and they really did nothing? And then they wanted to kick him off stage. They kicked him out because he dared to ask that question.
That's the same as
I have that video, by the way.
Yeah, that's the same as, remember, CJ, we covered that when what's the name of that guy? He was on Jimmy's show. He was on Democracy Now. He's the establishment guy. Always talk about Ukraine. Oh, goddamn.
Sachs.
Yeah. Jeffrey. Remember when Jeffrey Sachs?
Jeffrey Sachs. Yeah, that's it.
And then he starts speaking truth about the Ukraine war. And the moderator cut him off like, I'm the moderator. You shut up now. Like, what does that say when we hear what JB said and you see what happened to that guy and the moderator? They know they're wrong. Like, dude, if I were caught doing some shit like that, I would reflect. I'd be like, why am I have to do this? Why do I have to shut someone up? Like they don't reflect. But anyway, I'm gonna show you guys the last few receipts and then we can get out of here. We're about 2 hours in. But I'm gonna show you guys, as you mentioned, JB, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, this is a complex money laundering scheme. Do you guys want to see the results of this money laundering scheme and why Joe Manchin said he's all in when he was asked by Matt Blumenthal about this? You want to see why Bernie Sanders called Nick Brana a paid shield because he questioned this? Do you guys want to see the consequences of the votes of Bernie Sanders and AOC? And yes, guys, I will never let them go. I will never, ever let them live this shit down because I thought being a leftist was opposing the arms industry. I knew that even when I was a dumb. Sorry, I'm muting my mic on accident. That's weird. But anyway, when I was a dumb leftist, even then I was like, yeah, we oppose the military, right? Now we have NATO left that's all for it, right? So I'm gonna show you guys this. This is who benefits. This is the votes. These are the consequences of the votes of AOC and Bernie Sanders and the NATO left. The arsenal of democracy is back in business. And we already know in the West, democracy is those bombs. Proposed U.S. arms sales to NATO almost doubled this past year. Do you guys need to hear that again? U.S. arms sales to NATO almost doubled this past year. No criticism of that from the Bernie Sanders wing. No criticism of this of the NATO left. Bernie Sanders like, we don't give a fuck about them arms sales. Hell yeah, them arms sales is crazy. We don't give a fuck about none of that. None of that. Now you guys see why they are obsessed with continuing this conflict and they won't allow debate. Now I'm gonna show you guys this one because just to speed it up. European defense spending is no longer a laughing matter. A 2023 preview. CJ, we're gonna have a lot of content calling out the neocons next year because they are just getting started. They are just now getting started. Remember, I showed you Japan doubling their military budget. Remember Imperial Japan responsible for the rape of Nanjing, the death of millions of Chinese. They did so many heinous acts in Southwest and Southeast China and Asia. They literally demilitarized. So then the U.S. was like, "Nah, fuck that shit. You guys not pussy. You guys not gonna be pussies anymore. We are arming up. This is late stage capitalism. We are arming up against the global working class." European defense spending no longer a laughing matter. 2023 will bring in an exception. Oh, sorry. Let me read that again. 2023 will bring with it an expectation that Germany and a collection of other 19 NATO countries that committed to increase defense spending after Russia invaded Ukraine act on those plans. The NATO left, cannot emphasize enough, zero criticism of this. I'm gonna show you guys this. Got a little ahead of myself. Actually, just for a second time, I'm gonna show you guys this because we all see. I'll show you guys now that this is all about funding weapon defense contractors. You guys heard from Oliver North. The difference between Oliver North, and this is the state where we are right now in the United States. The difference between an Oliver North, a Mike Pompeo, Anthony Blinken, a Lloyd Austin, non-existent on the Overton window no more in foreign policy. Bernie Sanders is okay with this, no criticism of that. And the liberals, instead of having the rhetoric that we do, you want to hear what their rhetoric. Now, this is the funny part. This is the funny part. A second, you guys want to hear? And I found this tweet because this is particularly dumb. Particularly dumb. The political fan fiction of the liberals, and this guy, he said, 2022 was the year Ukraine saved the world.
Oh my god.
By stopping the Imperial Russian horde.
What?
So now liberals are using the same talking points as the Azov Battalion thugs. Just want to emphasize that. Ukrainians prevented World War III. Next year, they will defeat it once and for all. Sweet summer child. This is the Imperial Russia that liberals think is real. This is NATO, by the way. There's a map that shows NATO encroachment since the end of World War II. Who's the imperial force? According to liberals, regional conflicts and disputes make you imperialist. Not bankrupting Africa with the IMF. It's Russia. So I know this is more of a funny part of the segment, but the reason why I'm showing you guys is it's not completely without merit. I'm showing you guys how different we are than them. So for these people that tell you, oh, well, liberals, they're our closest allies. Fuck you. No, they're not. What do you guys take? Because I want to find this reason. I didn't save it, but there's someone who replied to my response to him, and they show that this guy is definitely propped up by the algorithm. And we know we've been shut down by the algorithm. This guy, oh yeah, I'm gonna show you guys this too. We almost done here. I got a few more funny things to show you. Here, look at this. This is the military bases, U.S. military bases, 845. But liberals are saying that Russia is imperialist. Well, I want to see. I hope I can find
it. Literally buying anything that's being sold by the United States ruling class literally requires you not to do any sort of fact checking on. It literally requires that. It literally just means they say it and then that's it. You don't require anything beyond that. It's said on. It comes out on trusted news sources, and what's trusted news sources means corporate. So that's the CNNs, the MSNBCs, the WAPOs, the New York Times. If it's said there, then it's law, and that's what they're trying to do with their censorship. And I'm tying the censorship in with this. That's what they're trying to do because they've lost narrative control, and they're trying to regain it back. And the only way to do it is through fascistic ways.
I want to quickly respond to this guy. I'll pass to you, JB. Very quick, because I don't want to spend too much time. But he said NATO is a fascist tool. Stop blaming capitalism. Oh,
no, he's joking. That's a joke. That's he has to be joking.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
NATO is a fascistic tool. Stop blaming. It's the same thing. NATO and capitalism; those are almost synonyms. What are you talking about, man?
Fascism is just part of capitalism.
Just in case he's serious, even if it's satire, that's okay. Good for you, studio. But let's take this argument as if it was serious. I'm not sure really. But if you really believe this, what do you guys think capitalism leads to? Capitalism leads to fascism. And that's me being very kind. There are many people that will make arguments that are one and the same. But
no, it's the video we always play. You know that video I played with Michael Parenti, and he describes, and he defines and how you explain how capitalism becomes imperialism, how it's the highest form. And he talks about how you got to go out here. You saturate this market, so you have to leave this market. So you have to go leave home and go for international markets. You have to always be consolidating. You have to be buying this and that. It's all just to squeeze out a little extra money for your shareholders.
Yeah.
So it's never ending. Go ahead.
The crazy part is a lot of people, when you define fascism, it's really the unity between corporations and the state. Yep. I'm going to say that again. Fascism is the unity between the corporations and the state as they bog down or repress the people in order to create and increase their profits. So the state is really used as a tool by corporations in order to increase their power. By that very notion, then capitalism leads them to increase their profits so that they can buy the politicians in order to increase their power, buy the state so that they can come together in order to repress us further so they can own everything. So when you say that capitalism, fascism and capitalism are two different things, that's like saying potatoes don't make French fries.
That's exactly what it is. Well, you got to think fast. NATO pop out of nowhere.
Because they're potatoes are French fries. They're one and the same. So what are you?
Yeah.
Please. Come on.
Yeah, I was just about to say. You guys see all that theory reading, what it done to our brother JB? My man. That very response that I was about to come up with. All that theory reading that he does on the JB Font channel. Make sure you guys subscribe. A lot of great theory readings on there. Even though not today, good audio.
Boo. Let me tell you something.
Hang on. I don't want to argue with the guy too long. Okay. But go ahead.
But the Nile's not a river in Egypt. But do we have time for that video that I want to share, or no?
Yeah,
we don't have time?
Yeah. I'm gonna show, yeah, we can play that one. We can wrap up after that. I'm gonna show you guys this. Okay. This is the tweet I was looking for earlier.
Okay.
In response to this, well, I closed it. In response to that idiot that was like, Ukraine is saving the world. This is Aaron. We had him on, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Amazing journalist and reporter. And this is a great point. And I want to show you guys this because this guy. You guys saw his tweet where he was Ukraine saved the world, right? Now, the Twitter file, remember the Twitter file? And Aaron makes a good point here. He said, with the Twitter files in mind, note that this vapid U.S. empire propagandist has 350,000 followers. That guy did. Let me pull the Twitter back up. Oh, damn it. Oh, well. Maybe we'll go back to that. I don't know why I closed it. But anyway. The guy who pretty much posting political fan fiction has 350,000 followers with only 175 tweets. Someone explain how that makes sense. I told you guys I had less followers in 2020, and I got more impressions back then than I do now. That I have literally 5 times more followers than I did 2 years ago. But this guy is able to rack up 350,000 followers with just 175 tweets. And he gains 2,000 followers with every tweet. Do you guys think that's real?
No.
Are you guys out of your fucking mind if you think that is real? that tweet that I pulled up. The reason why I want to pull it up again, this is so we can bask in the awe how stupid it is.
Yeah.
Do I have it? Yeah, I actually have it right here. Here's the tweet. This is the guy who's getting 2,000 followers every tweet. This genius. This Noam Chomsky in the making. 22 was the year Ukraine saved the world by stopping Imperial Russian hordes in its track.
Oh my god.
Ukrainians prevented World War III. This guy gets 2,000 followers of every tweet based on the great reporting of Aaron Good. Man, sorry, my tab was old. Didn't play. Where the hell did Aaron Good tweet go? But anyway, let me. I'll pull it back up again. But man, doesn't that show that Twitter is unbelievably rigged and Elon is not doing anything about it? Which I told you guys he wouldn't. My account is still suppressed as fuck. I was talking to Sabio about this the other day. Still suppressed as fuck. Post Elon Musk. You guys think Elon was gonna advocate for anti-war activists? Meanwhile, Elon Musk Twitter is propping up this neocon fuck on the algorithm. I saw that tweet. How did I find that tweet? Guys, how did I find the tweet? I don't follow him. That shit just popped up on my timeline. How did that happen? Anyway, this is the last point I want to make. Let's play the video that you shared, JB, and I gotta get out of here. So I'll let you comment on it. Any preface you want to say to it as I'm pulling it up?
No, actually, I'm gonna do this cold turkey. I'm gonna let y'all see it straight from you guys.
Yeah, I heard of the video. Yeah, I just haven't seen it. I heard it described.
Nick, you're gonna have some things to say. You and CJ are gonna have some things to say. Watch.
I can hear. I'm just gonna stand up real quick. I can hear.
Okay.
Community here in Australia, I've been pretty outraged by the narrative created by our media depicting the Ukraine as the good guy and Russia as the bad guy. Believe it or not, there are a lot of Russians here and around the world that support what Putin is doing in the Ukraine, myself included. Since 2014, the Ukrainian government, together with Nazi groups like the Azov Battalion, have besieged the Russian populations in the Donbass, killing an estimated 13,000 people, according to the United Nations.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Could I finish?
Just quickly finish, and then we'll come to that and put that to the panel.
So my question is, where was your outpouring of grief and concern for those thousands of mostly Russians?
Can we talk about how base this guy is and how he just completely silenced that room?
Yeah,
bro, everybody in this room is in absolute shambles right now. But I'm gonna let it continue. This is great.
According to the United Nations, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny how these same people attack Trump supporters for creating alternative facts. Do you remember that, JB? Alternative facts. Meanwhile, liberals have their own alternative facts they use all the time. He's literally quoting facts. And they're like, no, that's not true.
Keep watching.
Bring Nancy Pelosi insider trading. They're like, no, not true.
Keep watching. Let's hear if they actually debunk him.
That's my last time stopping. I just want to talk about how base this guy is. Let's
United Nations.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Could I finish?
Just quickly finish, and then we'll come to that and put that to the panel.
So my question is, where was your outpouring of grief and concern for those thousands of mostly Russians?
Okay, question earlier about Russia, and it's been playing on my mind. And Sasha, people here have been talking about family who are suffering and people are dying. And I understand you wanted to ask your question about, is there some reasoning for this? But you supported what's happening, hearing that people are dying. And can I just say I'm just not comfortable with you being here? Could you please leave? I've been... It's really no, Sasha. I'm sorry. You can ask a question. You can ask a question, but we cannot advocate violence. I should have asked you to leave then. It's been playing on my mind, and I'm sorry, but I have to ask you to leave, please.
Okay. Could I?
No. Please. Just out of respect. Please. We're not having the conversation, Sasha. We can't have people advocating violence. And I should have asked you to leave. It's been playing on my mind. I wanted to have a proper conversation about these things, but I have to ask you to leave. I'm really sorry.
Does this sound like the people that know they're in the right? If what he's advocating is so bad, why can't you dismantle his talking points? They can't. And if I was that guy, I am not going quietly. I am letting them drag me out at this point. I'm like, all right, if this information makes you guys uncomfortable, let me tell you some more. Anyway, let me continue.
Okay, I'm sorry for that, but these things happen, it's live television. You think about these things. It's really been troubling me that we can have a conversation and we can look at where the arguments are, and we can try to look at the sides of the argument. We can't have that, and I'm sorry, it should have happened.
No, what he did was he said the person who just made that great point, that can't happen again on this air. Get him out of here. That's what happened.
Yep. And look at how these people are psychopaths, because that guy brought up the people that Ukrainian government was killing. He said, why don't you guys have empathy for that? So, and then that guy responds, oh my God, we can't have someone advocating violence here. Nigga, you guys are the one who don't care about the Ukrainians that used to be killed by the government. That's unbelievable. I am trying to prevent myself from going on another rant. I am tired. That is unbelievable. There's an unbelievable video. I'm
sorry I set you up like that.
There's so many layers. You guys know we can break down these videos forever. There's so many layers to that video. But the only thing I would add, I'll cut myself off short. I really do gotta go. But just to cut myself off short, as CJ said, he didn't care that dude advocated violence, because obviously they advocated for violence against Russians.
Right.
That's not what that's about. That's an excuse he made up later. That's why later he's like, man, I'm really kicking myself for not kicking you out later. What he's really saying is I'm kicking myself for not making up that excuse earlier. So he's like, oh shit. He probably had a producer in his ear yelling at him, like, you motherfucker. So that's why he had to come back. Wow. How can anyone, the NATO left, I have no respect for. How can anyone not see this shit, man? I think at this point, this war, I think the propaganda for this war is easier to see through than the war on terror. I think it's so blatant at this point. Like, how you see that video?
It's like Santa Claus. It's on Santa Claus level. Yeah. Like, you can't see through Santa Claus. You're basically Kyle and Kalinske and all them are basically saying they believe in Santa Claus, and I'm like,
here comes Santa Claus. Here comes Santa Claus.
Looking back at history, and put it back on the comments, guys, if you got to disagree with me on this one. But I swear to God, this is dumbest war. This is way easier to see through than the war on terror. So there's people that were tricked on the war on terror, but there was very sophisticated propaganda that was going on. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm talking too much shit. Maybe I'm going too far. But I feel like this war is super easy to see through. Like, even way more than any other. This is the reason
why Zelensky had to come, because you're right. It's super easy, and a lot of people do see through it. This is why Jen Psaki had to say, this is a sales pitch.
Yep.
For
the most honest tweet ever.
They're losing. Yes.
Anyway,
all right, I think we can. Yeah, I think we can close up. Go ahead, JB.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to show you that, because the thing is that it shows. Guess what? If they're doing it in Australia, they're going to do that here. Any type of dissent whatsoever, without actually arguing the point and actually debunking that argument, they're going to say, oh no, that's just violence. When in reality, the thing is, they have no leg to stand on, and they're afraid to actually argue it, because that means if they do, that means it's going to shift the opinion of the audience against the ruling class, and that's what they don't want. And yes, this is fascism, because who owns these media corporations, these media companies? The corporations. And who are they in league with? The state departments. They're in league with the governments, the NSAs, and all these different entities, which is why it's fascism. And they're doing this by means in order to create more profit, which means it's capitalism blended into make fascism. So it's just crazy how people will sit here.
This is based on your video. I didn't know that guy, but based on this comment, I want to make sure I include that in that segment.
Yeah.
Stan Grant, the moderator, worked for ASPI, Australian Strategic Policy Institute, a government and weapons industry funded think tank. There it is.
Whoop, there it is.
It never fucking fails, man. Unbelievable. I didn't know that guy like that. But I'll just show you guys how weapon contractors, their profits are up. The West is now militarizing again. So this guy, he do not care about being impartial. He just there to advocate for that.
Yep.
Oh, that's so
the weapons guy is the one who said, you're violent. You like that one? The weapons guy said, get out of here. You're too violent, sir.
Oh my God, that's so perfect. All right, we got in on that. That's such a perfect point. Yeah. CJ, what you got coming up? And then JB after CJ.
We'll probably off a couple of days. We'll be back probably Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. some people are off. My wife is off on Monday, so if we took the day off, we could. If it's up to you, Nick. We'll see what kind of stories drop, and we'll kind of
we played out on Monday. We
we'll play it by ear. So, but we'll get some clips up. Maybe I'll reach out to
we gotta have a lot of clips on this one.
Doing so. Yeah, go ahead, JB.
JB, what you got coming up?
Yeah, so tonight at 11 p.m. we're gonna be on KRTD Media. We're gonna be talking. I'm going to be with Sabby. We're going to be talking about the past stories of the year 2022 as we do the countdown for New Year's. And I'll be sticking around at midnight as well to talk about electoralism versus leaving electoralism, the Democratic Party reformists versus getting out of the Democratic Party. So we're going to talk about that, as well as I might do my channel tomorrow. And also the premiere of Dirty Truth by Michael Parenti is coming up right now on my channel, as well as I already did a reading for Asada's autobiography that's already up on my channel as well. So stay tuned for that. Go there after you guys are done with this stream.
Well said. So we got a lot of great guests. I'm working on for next week. I'm gonna have Theorella back on either Tuesday or Wednesday. Theorella's hard because she's in Moscow, so I was about to have her on for Friday, but we gotta make sure we schedule it right because time zone differences. So she should be either Tuesday or Wednesday. And I got a few guests I'm working on as well. So make sure you guys.
Yeah, I think is it already New Year's in Russia? It might be already New Year's in Russia.
Yeah. I think they're like 9 hours ahead, 8 or 9 hours, depending on where you're at. So
maybe not.
Yeah. So anyway, make sure you guys subscribe, like if you haven't already. Make sure you guys support it on Patreon. The first tier start at $3 because we know we got a proletariat community. So even $3, like we don't need a lot. We don't need a lot. I literally just need enough to keep these lights on. That's it. So any small amount is good. We're not trying to be rich on this, but if you guys want to support the network, if you guys want to help me cover anti-war protests, like the support on Patreon is kind of stuff that help that happen. Until then, we just do the best we can until we get more resources. So we appreciate all the support that we get on Patreon and any like super chats. Trust me, we really do appreciate that stuff, guys. It means a lot in keeping us doing this. So, CJ, I'll let you close out. I don't know if you have any intro clips or anything else you want to say.
Yeah, we'll close with Michael Parenti, the one that the video I was referring to. So this will be our taking us out 2022. There goes JB's channel. Make sure you subscribe if you want to get a lot of Michael Parenti and along with other theory. Make sure you check out the JB channel. So we're gonna be signing off. Support the channel, support us because we got to pay staff. We have Aaron now, so make sure you support the channel in any way you can. I'll also throw up our fundraiser here. So that's our Venmo and our Cash App. So the month is up and it's about payday for our newest editor, our editor Aaron, for the month of December. So if you want to help pay her adequately, please submit any money, $1, $2, $5, $10, or more to either our Cash App or to our Venmo so that we can get her paid adequately. And we're going to leave you with Michael Parenti talking about capitalism and how it has to go internationally. Here we go.
Of capitalism that it must expand. A no-growth capitalism, as some of the more naive, some of our more naive ecologists have argued for, is a contradiction in terms. The reason you invest is to accumulate, and your accumulation of capital has no purpose or meaning unless you can mix it with labor to yet increase your wealth further. And of course, you use large sums of it for personal consumption and for political power and for control of your culture and for that wonderful, good, happy life that you so like. Now, that nature of expansion really affects the nature of, it's an important imperative because it means capitalism also can never stay home. It goes abroad. If you ever saw the film Controlling Interest, there's a corporate president who says, those corporations that stayed regional in New England years ago and decided not to go national, we can't even remember their names. They died. We had to go national. And those of us who are now national know we have to go international. We have to invest abroad. So one of the laws of capitalist motion and development is this inexorable expansion. And that means expansion into an expropriation of the third world. A process that's been going on for about 400 years, perpetrated by the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the Dutch, the Belgians, the French, the English, and most recently, most successfully, most impressively, by the Americans. That is by the ruling classes of these countries, not by the ordinary people. The ordinary people simply paid the costs of empire. The ordinary people simply sent their sons off to die on the plains of India or in the jungles of the Congo or in Latin America, wherever else. But that expropriation of the third world that's been going on for 400 years brings us to another revelation, namely that the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Most countries are rich. The Philippines are rich. Brazil is rich. Mexico is rich. Chile is rich.